want you to measure your watermarks over time. So that way we know, are we dropping our price in a slow season as a preemptive strategy? Or are we dropping price in peak season because we realize it's not as strong as we think it is? Those of you that are new to these Zooms, welcome. We use a hand-raised format. So find the button in the bottom center for any of you who need to find out where the hand-raised button is. You click on that, and then we call upon you in order. It's kind of how we work. Clara, you are the very first. Welcome to the front.
So we are negotiating again. We stopped the negotiation with the other landlord stopped. He didn't take the deal and we didn't take the deal. So now we are actually looking at other properties, and we found a townhouse with only 2 bedrooms. It's a good price point because he wants to give it furnished.
Cool.
We wanted to know what you think about the townhouse, if you think it's worth it, if the furniture is more or less like worth it as well. And the good thing is it has a yard and a rooftop, so we can make like something like wellness in the yard. That's
cool.
actually
Yeah, can you give me a link in the chat so we can take a look at it? And then
okay, yeah, the link.
Remind me the last deal, we had some terms, right, that we wanted the landlord to agree to that he didn't want to agree to. Is that why that went down?
Yeah, it was a whole he was a bit difficult.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to agree at all and with anything. So in the at the last point we said like, okay, we really need there to be facilities for the hot tub, otherwise we cannot take the deal. And he never responded. So we thought, okay, well, clearly he doesn't want the deal.
Yeah, you might have dodged a bullet with that then too.
Yeah.
Okay, so first off, I like the furniture generally. That's cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think you're good there.
Mm-hmm.
The home is still a little bit like just, straight down the middle in its design style.
Yeah.
As far as the color scheme goes, what I would do is I would consider changing the color of the home to be more vibrant, right?
Yeah. Painting.
You know what's really funny is I can imagine this pearl white, like opulent white color, and that with the color of the floor. It's very rare that I recommend that somebody go straight white for a place, but even like pearly white would be better than this sand color that's on the wall.
Yeah.
You could then do pattern, right? You could do maybe that pink blanket. You could do something that has like a little bit of pink and fuchsia in it too, if you wanted to play with that color scheme. That would be a change that I would make. Even with furniture though, so far, yeah, the bed's not that frog in my throat. The bed's not that great. Like the bedroom, the design style for the bedroom is pretty straightforward. I like that as a roof. You could get permission to put a cold plunge and a hot tub on the rooftop of this one, and maybe that would work. So they make portable cold plunges and portable hot tubs. What you would do is you would take the portable versions and you could actually build like a wood structure around it to support them.
Yeah, like a deck.
Yeah, exactly. So you actually build like a box and create what looks like to be a permanent hot tub with a portable one, and that's how you get it on the roof of these townhomes, because airlifting with a crane a hot tub can be a pain in the ass, right? But
yeah, and expensive.
Yeah, so you get that.
Yeah.
And the inflatable ones are cheap enough because they basically come with all the hardware and the surface and stuff, and then you build the support. It's probably cheaper than buying a full-on hot tub anyway, but it still looks just as good if you do it right. So I would do that with a portable cold plunge and a portable hot tub on the roof, and that would make this one worthwhile, I believe. The outside area here looks a little meager, but these bags, of course, obviously, it looks like they were working on the property. I would consider that if you could have a mural painted on this kind of grungy looking wall, right?
Yeah.
Have a little bit of outdoor furniture, maybe like that cornhole game, and paint a mural on this grungy looking wall, then that would make this home much more pretty. These all would need to happen in order for me to justify the rent price for this property, right?
Okay,
so the rent price is actually a little high, even furnished.
Oh, even furnished, you think it's a little high?
Yeah, because that 2-bedroom property should be like 1950 or 2000 a month.
Okay. Okay, I
2200 is
understand.
maximum, right? And then if you're paying for furniture, you're like an extra $500 a month, right? So 2700 would probably be the high watermark.
Okay. Okay, and for what you saw, what do you think? How can we accommodate enough guests? Because we want to go luxury, but we also want there to be enough guests. This possibility. So for now, we would have 6 only because we have 2 beds and
Well, I would need to see the
sofa bed.
floor plans for the bedrooms. Your bedrooms need to be at least 13 feet wide to get 2 queens. I can tell right away that one does not have the space.
No, one doesn't.
Yeah.
And the
If
other
the other
one
one is 13
doesn't
feet wide,
either.
okay.
For
In
what
that
we
case,
saw when we went, there was one king in it, and it wasn't that there was not more space for there to be another bed. So if it
yeah.
would be two queens, I don't think will fit.
So in that case, you could do a king bed in each room. That's going to be the best thing that you could do. And then you're going to want to have rollaway beds in the
Okay.
living room. That's going to be,
Yeah.
so you can store the rollaway beds in closets and stuff like that.
Okay.
Let me also show you something too here. There's a new filter. This is something that they've just updated some stuff really recently. So king beds is cool, even cooler now than they used to be. You still need to put king bed in your title, but
Okay.
now under filters, when we search, we're able to look for, I believe king bed is going to hide down here somewhere. There it is, king bed under features.
King bed.
So,
Okay.
so now that anybody who's got king beds will stand out even more, which is nice. This is a brand new addition. So keep that up.
Wow.
Portable hot tub, right? They don't have a cold plunge section in here. Also, I want you to be also be mindful of any ways that you can jam categories. Like you might have room to put a grand piano in your place, and that is a category that'll pop up here. I think the reason why we're not seeing it on this map view is because it doesn't actually exist. You notice how we've actually got less categories here than normal. If we go to the full on, now you can see all these different categories. But when you search in an area, so let's say we go to search Dallas, it'll only show what this section of Dallas has in these categories. So if somebody has a grand piano, it'll show it now. It's almost like a version of filter. You see that? This is another new UI update. So see this didn't move much when I clicked grand piano, right?
Yeah.
Because it's actually tethered to map view. If we went back to Airbnb worldwide, right, and then we clicked on grand piano, if we can find it, because there's so many things in here, it's going to give us a much different experience, right? It's going to give us all these, hit show map, and that map's going to be wide, right?
Yeah.
And you notice that Airbnb, their settings are based on staycations still. See, since I'm in Dallas, it thinks I'll go as far as Tulsa or, as far down as Austin, and that's what it's showing me. So it's got a much broader view, maybe 200 miles. So with that said, the home has got good bones. You've got room to add some things in the categories section, because categories are now a version of underserviced amenity. So pop that and get permission to add amenities to the roof. And I would even still try to negotiate down the rent, considering what you could do is you could take this original listing that you have on Zillow. It is, what's the price per square foot on this bad boy? You could actually look at the price per square foot on other rentals nearby. There's a 3-bedroom for $31.95 on Ashbury. That's 2,200 square feet, right? For example. There's a 2-bedroom 2,700 that's 1,600 square feet, and these are rentals nearby, right? So hey, what they want for their furniture is out of line, and you can use data. And how long of a lease are they expecting to see from you?
Okay, so this is actually a person that this is his second home, so he just bought a new home. So he said that he would accept corporate housing companies, but he wants a deal for 15 months. not more. And I told him like, okay, but we can do like 2 or 3 years. And he said, no, 15 months for now, because after that, the rent maybe goes up or whatever. And
tell him the rental market is going to go down. It's on the way down now.
okay, it's on the way down.
It's on the way down now. Yeah.
Okay.
Rent prices are like, and I'll also look this up too and actually have that data so that way you can support that data.
Okay.
And tell him, hey, if we lock in a 2-year long lease or 3-year long lease, and if rent prices go up, we'll raise the rent year over year if rent prices go up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can tell him that. Yeah.
Yeah, but rent prices are going down. So
Okay.
we can do a deal. This will protect you in long term. You won't have to worry about tenant turnover because we'll be here for a while. And so continue to negotiate, using our free script, like our free rent script and everything else. And you could also then say, since this one is furnished, you don't have a high barrier. You could say, if you give us, the rent concessions we're asking for, we'll start the lease in 72 hours, right? Because there's nothing here that you have to buy. You could start operating right away, and then you'll block the listing only for maybe 2 weekdays to install the cold plunge and the hot tub when it arrives, and have somebody build the decking for that. Then you will make sure that there's an outdoor access for the house. And when the muralist comes and paints, you'll just, until the muralist comes and paints, you're not going to advertise that yard space, and you're going to put in your listing other things to note and house rules that the small section of yard space that is available, it won't be available until the muralist is done painting. So there will be a muralist outside the home for various hours any day of the week until he's completed. And we project that to be XYZ date. And that way you're not out of alignment with Airbnb's rules on disclosure. And then once it's done, you just remove all that language and actually put photos up of the outside space when it's done. That's what I would do.
Okay.
Start it in 2 hours in exchange for the free rent you want, and patch together the back end thing.
Okay, I do have one more question about this property, because he said that the roof top doesn't allow us to put a hot tub because it will not hold because of the water and everything. So we were thinking actually to do the yard as a kind of wellness. So we want to put in the hot tub and maybe a sauna and outside shower, that kind of things.
Sure. In that case, let's go back to the share screen. I'll tell you a little bit more about what I think then.
Please.
You
and
absolutely
then
cannot.
what?
Let's load it up again. So
Okay.
thoughts here then. With this stated, the Rooftop is one of your largest selling
we wanted to put
point.
there like games, or like maybe a pool table, a nice sitting, some lights. We want to make it nice.
Okay, so there's a grill up here. What I would actually do is I'd put a cabana up that also has like a good framing with the city in the background, right? Some people might even put a gazebo up there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Kind of like that, kind of like our pagoda kind of look. I would do something like that so that way people can take photos up there. It's going to be kind of like your version of an Instagram wall also.
Okay,
so,
like a kind of Instagram wall.
Yeah, so if you make this a very Instagrammable space with a gazebo covered area where the point of it, the framing is where the background is the city. People want to shoot in this direction with the background of the city, so really build for that. And then down here, you can then make this secluded and peaceful. Like you said, like the retreat space. So instead of doing this like really loud, cool mural with the cornhole, the idea of doing a hot tub down here and a cold plunge, and then making it much more zen. You could even try to like cover this, and then do like a lot of like vine work. You could use fake plants and stuff too, because the vines won't grow in any real period of time. But you do big leafy plants that kind of create coverage, and this will almost be like a kind of a little tunnel of something that would look a little bit more like let me see if I can find photos of something that you would Azulik is an expensive place in Tulum where they put a lot of energy into creating it, but the vibe is what we're going for. So creating this kind of boho eclectic back, like with these, you have vertical space that is utilized, you've got green plants and kind of bamboo, stuff like that. This is the kind of retreat vibe that you can create in a small square footage. It's not too expensive because of course it's not a lot of square footage. And so imagine having a hot tub inside of something like this. And what matters is that way from one angle, when somebody takes a photo of them in the hot tub, the background looks absolutely lush, right? So people will take this photo of them like in the hot tub living their best life and the background looks like they're in Tulum, right? It just has to look good from one photo angle. But then, so there's two points of perspective that matter here. You want one photo angle that looks immense, and then you want the immersive angle to look good. So the way that you do that is with a hot tub, where let's say you're sitting right here, right? And you want everything around you to look good. You use a lot of like hanging stuff, right? You use a lot of stuff that actually starts to enclose your field of vision to hide anything that's farther away, right? It's almost like you're creating almost like a snow globe or fishbowl effect where you have hanging leaves that come down like this, and you have a bamboo wall that shoots up here. And so it encloses from where you're sitting, but then somebody who's over there taking a photo in this direction will see this more composed look. And that way, half of the yard doesn't have to be so done up, right? You can actually really like narrow down where you have to spend all of your money to get that shot done. Because you want one shot portrait photography long where it looks good, where a girl can be like this with her glass and everything in the background, the hot tub looks great. And then when you're sitting in it, you want all the hanging obstructive stuff to make it look good. And then the rest, the other half, right? So when we go back to share screen here, the other half of it, the part that really, I guess, is the part that we want to control. I think I just did it on this. Okay, so basically imagine from this water pipe towards us is where that really immersive look is. And then all you have to do is from the water pipe to the door, just make this look clean and make it like look preemptive to the design, right? It has to just be congruent, but it doesn't have to be done all the way up, right?
Okay.
It's like a preemptive, clean, Tulum-ish walkway to that. But once you hit this pipe, everything is dreamland, right? And that way you can spend less money on it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much for the ideas. One more question about the guests amount. Do you also think it could be that we can maybe add a sofa bed? So add a sofa so that we have another.
You want to have two couches where one's a sofa bed?
We now have, so have two instead of one. We now have one.
Sure.
Yeah. You think
you could do that. The reason why I said rollaway beds is because you already have a couch, right?
Yeah.
And since you already have a couch, adding another couch, you would have to find something that fits the design theme that already exists for the home.
Okay.
Right? So in this case, you've got a lot of browns. Now, if you went with pearly white, you might be able to come up with some sort of like really loud colored couch, like you could have like a bubblegum colored couch in the design, or a sky blue couch in the design, or you could do a white couch in the design. But to find a sleeper sofa that fits the theme at the end could be tough. Even this couch might be tough to make a really loud, awesome looking room with the way that you want to pull it off, which means you may continue to go with this like nature colored thing and just really play more with textures. If you can't really do it with color, you'll do it with textures. But to add a second couch will materially change the layout of the space, which you could do. Like this desk is kind of trash and it's got to get moved anyway, right?
Yeah.
So
you're
going to do some modifications.
Yeah.
And so with that said, you could add a second couch, make the place look more communal. You won't hate yourself for that. And then the extra rollaway bed space can always be stored away somewhere.
Yeah.
You could actually add two sleeping spaces by creating an observation dome on the roof.
What do you mean? An observation?
Aha.
An observation
This
dome.
is fun. Rooftop. One of my students in Mexico City has about 8 of these now. funny that this is actually Fort Worth magazine. So see this kind of dome? This is for dining, but they make really big bubble domes. I actually have a YouTube video where I toured my student in Mexico City's bubble dome maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. But the thing will be bigger. They can cost upwards of $7,000 to construct and furnish on the inside, but there's ones that have a much more clear externals, like outside, so you can actually do some stargazing. There's ones that completely block off the sunlight, except for like clear window spots like this too. You have some options. So we've got like this bubble dome rooftop thing, and because of that, the weight is distributed. Water is really heavy. So the rule about a hot tub could be you can't have 40 gallons of water in a 4-foot wide space, right? Yeah. But these bubble domes tend to be more light, and you can actually build you build a floor that you can drill into, right? Using decking, right? You create so basically some decking that allows you to bolt down the bubble, and then you build a bubble, and the bubble's pretty light. So that way it won't blow away. You need the decking so it won't blow away. Otherwise, that would be your only problem. So you can actually add sleeping 2 or 4 persons by doing that, or putting a yurt up top, like one of those tents with some decking. Yeah. You could actually do some rooftop sleeping space, which could be fun.
Yeah, an experience. It's good.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the ideas. We will definitely look into that. And then we also saw a few condos, apartments. It's from the same people. It's different complexes, but in those complexes, I think it's 4 or 5 complexes. They already have 10 was it? Yeah. 10 Airbnbs. So first, I thought about you telling us, tell them you take multiple doors, but how could we make it work if there are already 10 Airbnbs in the same like zone or buildings or community?
Okay, so there's 10 Airbnbs out of how many total doors?
Sorry?
How many total doors are in the building?
I don't know. A lot, because we are talking about, I think, four complexes, 4 or 5 complexes, and they all have pretty much doors. They all have 2 buildings with plenty doors. I can show you like the page of them. They don't really have a floor planning or whatever. But
so I don't think I'll need to see that page yet, but I want to give you some examples here, right? I just pulled up a spot in Addison. See all these spots that are right next to each other?
Yes.
These are all the same. These are all the same units in a building, right? This building allows Airbnb, and if you notice, there's like, gosh darn, like 43 places just in this spot. So that is the danger, right? Now look at the photos on the left, though. They are trash, right? Yeah. They suck. Now, there's 2 things to consider. If all of your competitors look like this person, you won't have a single problem in the world.
Okay.
Right? Because you can beat these people. Okay, these say guest favorite on them. See that? And they look like utter trash. This person's only got 7 reviews. So now here's the thing, though, too. The guest favorite only having 7 reviews means that somebody doesn't really even have to do very well. They might be able to get guest favorite after 2 reservations. We don't know this yet. So this person can have not a lot of reviews, but here we are. Now, without me going on a big tirade, what we want to look at is how profitable these 10 competitors are and how good they are. Those are the 2 things you want to look at. Now, remember, when we do this global search, this any week, it shows you when it's available next. So this one's available November 13th. That's right now. Yeah. November 25th is a little further away, right? November 19th is also kind of farther away. But a lot of these are available to the 17th, the 13th, 13th. A lot of these people are just getting their butts kicked, right? And so that's one thing you want to consider, is a lot of your average competitors here are getting kind of crushed. But there might be some that have a good amount of reviews. Like this one here's got 20 reviews at 4.7. This one's probably been around, maybe one of the longest. So then we take a look at it. We take a look at their calendar. Like we look at this. These units just absolutely are terrible. This is. I'm at a loss for words, guys. Okay, there's so much wrong here. Okay, first off, it's a vertical photo. Second off, there's absolutely no artwork. There's nothing under the TV. And that is that a modem? Is that like an air freshener? Like, what the hell is going on? And this little flower in the bottom, they think that that's going to do something. So if this is your competition, like for example, you go nuts, right? Now, if this person has bookings in the future, which they don't, right? If this person had future bookings, I would just fire away, right? If this person's just got anything going on in their calendar with how trash this is, I would just go nuts. Be like, give me 10 doors, put everybody else out of business. So when like this one should maybe have some bookings, right? The very first photo is nice. And there's a couch with a piece of art in the back and it's got a rug. Like this person is 10 times the host, right? And this one's guest favorite too. It has 6 reviews. Again, not a lot of reviews, but go Nina. But this one doesn't have future bookings either. And again, like we can go into the typical market research thing, which is like, let's see if they've got a minimum night stay, which they do. Let's see what their prices are. $115 a night, $100, hold on, $100 cleaning fee. This is why she's getting her budget, right? So she's only really able to be considered like this, right? $115 a night, $99 cleaning fee, 4 nights or longer. She's now at $638 for 4 nights. She is basically angling at a stay like this. This is her best shot. $115. She's got no weekly discounts, no 4-day discounts, nothing. She's really only starting to get competitive for a 10-day stay. So what we have is we've got somebody with good design-ish, right? But terrible pricing strategy. Yeah. We've got people with absolutely no design at this property. And this is why you can go into a building that has 10 units and just mop the floor with these people, right? But that's what you're looking for. If you have listings like this, you can ignore the bad ones when you count how many listings are in a different building.
Okay.
Okay,
perfect.
But if you find any valid competition, and if your valid competition looks like they're bleeding, that is the red flag.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, we saw they have a few, there are a few good ones, but also there's a lot of trash. And we saw they have a few, bookings. So it doesn't look alarming for now, but we wanted to know if it's like a problem, if they already have 10 in those buildings, if we add more, if it would be a problem. That's what we actually were going at.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a problem. And I've decided, I think I'm going to share this or a section of this on YouTube. So the only reason why I'm not actually sharing your property and going through your property as an example is because I actually want to keep your privacy. If this ends up on YouTube, I don't want people knowing what building you're looking at. So,
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
I hope that my answer using a proxy building was sufficient. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Yeah, well, that was it for us today. We will let you know how it goes with the townhouse.
Yeah, happy to help. Yeah, keep me posted.
Yeah, will do.
All right, Monish, you're next, and then Britannia, and then Leslie after that. Welcome to the front, Monish. How are you?
Hey, Sean. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good. Just, sitting here having a bunch of coffee out of a Slytherin cup.
Love that.
Yeah, I heard you had your wife on for interior design, like on your last coaching call or one of them.
Yeah. We had her for 2 weeks ago, and it was crazy. I mean, there were so many people online. We were 2 hours in, and we were just like, oh, I guess we'll have to push it off to answer your questions for the next time. But it was really fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you for that. If that keeps up, you can keep letting her come on, and we can find a way to add her into the roster as a coach.
Oh, cool. Yeah, she would love that. She loves interior design. It's a passion of hers. So I'll let her know.
Cool. Rock on. What can I do you for?
So I had a question that was more about customer service oriented. I like to have the type of personality where I try to win every single guest. So when I get combative guests that are like upset by our policies. So for example, I had one guest who wanted to bring 18 people to a max 8 home. And I told her that I would be okay with it if I charged her an additional fee. And she just didn't like that, came over, violated a bunch of rules. And so I wanted to still like try to turn it into a positive way, especially because she ended up being a member of a local community, which that was a whole interesting thing. But do you have a way to deal with combative guests, and especially if they're like violating your policies? Do you just say that's our company policy and we all abide by it, or how do you deal with combative guests?
You could probably use a takeaway clause in a strategic way. So a hospitality version of a takeaway clause is, please let me help you find a property that can accommodate you. So then, because she wants to bring 18 people, she can't, right? You could say this property, it's not suitable, something like that. I can do my best to help you find a place that'll work for you, even though it won't be your business, right? And you don't have to do a lot of work, but that conversation starts to take the direction, which is like, okay, he's going to walk away from this deal. He's going to help me find another property, which is a real nice guy move. But still, what you're communicating is he's walking away from this deal. He's not going to let us do this. I can't stop my feet and be combative and get what I want, because he's not responding to my combativeness. But still kind of approach. So you would then offer, like I said, to help her find a place that could allow what she's looking for. And you basically, you just keep parrying any attempts to be combative, because what you're doing is you're still offering her something. You're still working for her. You're still on her side. And people who are combative, I don't know, it's like a form of manipulation. Once they get you to be emotional, they think that they are better at emotional conversation than their adversary. That's usually why people are combative. So that would be my best move.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Basically showing that, hey, like I understand your situation. We're going to try to make it work for you. Here's a way. But in a way, it gives some kind of fear to her that, oh no, he's serious about not hosting us here. So maybe I'll try to work with him a little bit better.
Yeah. So you're communicating a boundary without being accusatory is kind of like how that comes off.
Yeah, sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And then curious, do you have any like customer service resources that you've used maybe to train your staff, or any books that you recommend?
Books on artful communication, Tung Fu,
Okay.
TONGUEFU, Tung Fu. And then there's a book like How to Win Every Argument Ever, I think is another one. And it's a really fun name, but really it's not actually about like arguing. It's about, like artful communication, because you can win an argument without somebody know that they're arguing with you, right? It's the art of influence. So then also have somebody on your team watch YouTube videos about the 6 principles of influence by Robert Cialdini. Those are going to be good too. And then sales books really help with this too. I believe it's the Green Book of Persuasion by Jeffrey Gitomer. He's got a bunch of mini books. He's got a couple red books on selling. The Teal Book of Trust is really good. There's a black book of referrals, which is really good. So there are 3 books that I think are really good for hospitality. Would be the Green Book of Persuasion, Teal Book of Trust, Black Book of Referrals or Networking. Those will be all ones that you and your team could probably gather around the campfire on. And there's going to be some main core principles for good, solid customer service. The people who are communicating need to seem like they value whatever the guest is up to and that they're rooting for the guest. Like beyond the cliche, I'm so excited for your stay. Like your customer service team needs to know what the stay is about and why, and actually be emotionally invested in the stay as much as the guest is.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'll definitely be training on them on that. Cool. Thanks, Sean. I will dive into these books. I'm excited.
Cool. I'm adding them into the chat right now in abbreviation. Jeffrey Gitomer, Green, Teal, and Black. And then there's that other book, Tung Fu. And then there's How to Win Any Argument Ever. Basically, that's an easy to remember kind of concept for a book.
Cool. Thanks, Sean.
Yes, sir. All right. And for Tanya, you are next. And then Leslie after that.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
Yeah, good. Good to see you.
Awesome. I have several questions, so you can stop me when I've over.
Do your thing. Have fun.
All right. So I just opened up a new property in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
It was a rehab that I did. So I own the property. It was a really hard rehab and overspent my budget. So I'm kind of like at the point where I need to get some cash flow.
Sure.
And we finished out the house inside, but I need a lot of help on the outside. But I just want you to first look at the house for me and just tell me your thoughts on it. So do I just put the link in?
Put it right in the chat. Let's do it.
Okay, let's see. It's a slow start. I'm used to it kind of starting a little bit faster, but I know this is a slow month for the area.
Mhm. And how many people does the place occupy?
We can sleep up to 10.
Okay.
They moved some stuff around. So like when I'm on my phone, it's hard for me to find my listings. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. And sometimes they don't load for me too. I was going to do a video on Airbnb settings change, and it wouldn't even load all my listings. It was kind of weird. So a slow start's going to happen with a property like this because groups of 10 don't book 3 days from now, right? So that's going to be the game theory of your pricing strategy is for this week, you need to price for a group of 4 for this week. You can price for 10 next month, but your pricing needs to be correct. So let's first take a look at a couple of things. I just want to see, okay, so you've got a last minute 2-night minimum, which I think is going to harm you for Monday. I'd use a rule set to remove that 2-night minimum. Anytime you have an adjacent day like this, remove the 2-night minimum because you want as many views on that one night that's adjacent to the next reservation.
I have a 2-night minimum? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, you got a 2-night minimum. Are you using any software?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I think sometimes software will do that. So you can use a rule set to overwrite this 2-night minimum where it's applicable. And the times we do that are immediately after a reservation checks out. This is a good time to remove the 2-night minimum. So even here, like the 27th, when somebody checks out for Christmas, this is also a good time to remove the 2-night minimum. I do not recommend removing it. If you do keep a 2-night minimum, don't remove it on a Thursday if someone's checking in for an expensive reservation on a Friday. You don't want to potentially lose a big reservation because you allowed a 1-night stay the night before and the person was trash. Right. So stuff like that. So let's look at your prices. You're at $215 a night for one person. Let's see if your prices change per person. Okay, so you start to add $10 per person at 7 people. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's good. That's not a problem. So I think that's okay. You can do that, but you want to drop this.
I think I'm surprised by the 2-night minimum because I copied this listing from I have 2 houses right next to each other. So, and that other one, I've been doing midterm stays for almost 2 years now. So I think it's because I copied this one over. So I need to go in and change that because I changed all my other stuff to 1-night minimums and I used the pricing strategy that you taught for that.
Yeah, with the increase and then do the 2-day discounts and 3-day discounts.
So I need to go back and change that.
Yeah.
There's some things I missed on that.
And so, for example, right now, your Monday coming up, it needs to be $90. Sorry to say, right? Your Monday needs to be 90 and your Tuesday can be 120 to get those booked. But you're so last minute, you're not going to get $200 a night.
I got you. Right? So you're saying within a week, I need to be pricing it like it sleeps 4.
Exactly right. So then your hero photo should be different because this photo is not your best photo. You need something under the TV here because this just doesn't frame well. This high mounted floating TV just never really does well. What you can do is you can just have a floating shelf here, something like that. You could have a desk where like there could be like a working chair here, but I don't think you have the room for that. So a floating shelf would be probably good enough. You could also vertically paint. See this color you have on the right wall here? You could vertically paint like 2 inches on either side of the TV, that darker color to create a framed space, and then have a shelf that has like the TV remote on it. Your tissue box could be over there, a couple knickknacks, you know what I mean? And just, it makes the space look intentional where just a floating TV can kind of be an eyesore, right? But that should still not be your very first photo because this dark wall color is kind of alluring. I like this. Actually, I think I have this very painting. I got it like at Marshall's Home Goods or an At Home once. And we actually
let me tell you some update I've made to this. I need to do another picture. So I put some spotlights in both of those trees, so it kind of illuminates the whole wall. I actually changed that rug to a more like Aztec black and cream looking rug. And
I like the colors of this rug though. Yeah, you maybe update the photo so I can see it, but I like the colors of this rug because these flecks kind of match with the gold of the painting. So
oh yeah.
Now the issue here is this table in the back and this wall is very plain compared to the front, right?
Right. So that's the biggest thing I need help with. I just kind of lost steam when it came to my dining room.
You know what's funny is, see, like you can just change the angle of the shot and not have that part in your hero photo, right?
Oh, okay.
You can just control your photography angles and you can make that not look so blended with this. Like this shot seems a little bit more appropriate, right? Where I would actually I'd paint this whole thing the same color. I'd paint the roof the same color as this, go full on immersion, okay? The best performing Airbnb listings incorporate their design into their ceiling. They either have a really interesting chandelier, they have wood that goes across the ceiling, or they paint the ceiling the same colors they paint the walls to create this full immersive box.
Oh.
So I would do that. And then just for funsies, if you wanted to protect this room from this space here, you could get this like Japanese style divider and you just actually put it up as like just a obstructive part of the shot, right? So that way this back part doesn't actually show up in the photo. And then you can move that divider around as a prop throughout the home. So whenever you need something interesting, you just move the divider, almost like you move a mirror and a plant around, or you move the knickknacks around. So this room is also missing those knickknacks, by the way. You're missing a throw blanket, you're missing some pillows, you're missing those little things. And some of those things can get moved around. Like this shot here, this is the kind of stuff that you want to, not necessarily this exact stuff, but you want these types of things incorporated into your shots. And if you don't have a budget for a lot of them all over the home, you can just move them around in your photography. This room's kind of cool. The photo is a little high. You're standing like you're holding the camera about 1.5 feet too high. You want the camera to actually only be about 4 inches above this cushion.
Okay.
Yep. The vertical space, see how these planks actually make the room more interesting? This is a great example of utilizing vertical space, but it's in the bone of the home. So cool. So, but keep that best practice. So we're going to change your hero photo. Probably something to do with this room with the Netflix on the TV, but put like a Japanese divider up and paint those walls the rest of the way. See, the couch being under the TV actually is serving that same purpose of like getting something under the TV. It just does something surprisingly, right? Is that a sous vide?
It's a Ninja.
Okay, I'm about to say, holy shit, the sous vide that stands up. If you have a sous vide, yeah, you should totally pimp that you have it in your stuff.
What's a sous vide?
A sous vide is where you can actually even use it in a sink. You put it in a bath of water and it heats water to an exact temperature and it cooks stuff at a precision temperature. So you can cook a steak at 120 degrees for 12 hours and then it's pretty much almost ready to eat. You just sear it really quick. Sous vides are like a fancy way to cook stuff. This shot is okay. It's a little incomplete. You're missing sugar and creamer and tea, right? Except this is that tea or is that coffee? Yeah.
It's coffee.
Yeah. So you want to have tea and sugar and cream to make it look more complete. And you want to have the coffee pot and a tea kettle with it, make the shot look more complete. You are missing some things. This is fine. If you ever start retailing and start selling things like Tide Pods and stuff, you're not going to want to have this Tide jug because you're actually telling the guest that you get free detergent by having this. And if you ever don't have this, you're going to have a problem with the guest. So your kitchen is missing actually, you're missing a lot of your kitchen shots, actually. Okay, so our kitchen medium shot that we always talk about? Yeah, so you need a kitchen medium shot. You need this mise en place style staged.
With the pots and everything.
Yep, all that. Make it look ready to cook. You've got a couple cool elements to this kitchen, including like the hood, and you really want to incorporate that stuff into your shots. You could you could do something to make this kitchen look, you could get like a spice, like one of those steel spice rack, or actually it's like a pot and pans rack that people use in kitchens. You could put something here that kind of goes up along the wall, and you can have some other things in there, and you could put the microwave on it, but then you can hang some really nice pots from it. You can have some spices and stuff, and just be able to kind of have more things out in the kitchen, and it just makes the kitchen look a little bit more busy, more fun. So I think you could. You're missing a shot of your refrigerator. For example, the refrigerator being open, if it doesn't have a water filter on the front of the fridge, you want to put a Brita filter in the fridge and take a photo of that. Otherwise, take a photo of the water filter on the front of the fridge door. You want to show that you have filtered water. You want to set the table and do a cool shot of the table. So you actually want to get into the room and get up close to the table with plates, bowls, wine glasses. These end tables over here really don't serve you very well. I see that you're trying.
They've already been taken out.
Cool, good. You can either put a long mirror over here, or you can hang a few pieces of artwork, something like that.
Okay. That was my big question, like what to do with that. Because
you'd be surprised that a mirror solves everything. People like looking at themselves. So that's what I thought.
Well, the reason I didn't go for the mirror initially is because that room is already kind of big, and I always thought mirrors were for making space bigger.
Well, what's great about Airbnbs is they have more square footage than hotels, and that's really one thing we constantly try to push. So mirrors are always great.
Okay.
You have not filled out any of your text boxes, by the way. You're missing the neighborhood, getting around, things to note. You've got the main description and then the about the space below that. So you need to go back. So once you publish your listing, you need to go back and start add a bunch of other stuff that you're not able to do on the first time around.
Okay. So my whole theme for this house was supposed to be Zen, kind of a Zen space, i.e. my palm trees and my Buddha. So
so in this case, I think you should probably have shades of dark that match this. So this is like an almost black, right? It's like it's a charcoal. So now find colors that have this kind of charcoal hue, darkness to it, but then have one that goes slightly green and have one that goes slightly purple, right? And you can use these colors throughout the house, where this back room here could be a slightly purple version of this, right? Just a very minor change. And then you have another room that's like a slightly green version of it. And then you can do a lot of the uplighting, like you talked about. You put spotlights in these plants. I think continuing the uplighting and integrating some wood texture and stuff like that would be good. I believe. Let me see if I can find it.
By putting a plant wall on that in the dining room wall.
Bamboo thrush. Let's see if you like bamboo thrush roll. Hopefully that's what it's called. We're looking for stuff like this, right? And you can use this type of bamboo texture stuff all over the place, and it doesn't actually have to be for blinds. Okay, so imagine roll this out flat and put how big is this? This is 23 by 72 inch. Okay, so you do a 24 inch by what is 24 times by 72 inch picture frame. So then you get wood picture frame. See if you can find it. So what we can do is, you get like a wood frame like this, and you actually put the bamboo in the frame and actually make artwork that looks like it's just textured bamboo, right? You have these massive pieces of artwork that are just bamboo. You can then later have an artist come and do, this is total cultural appropriation, but we're here to build immersive experiences, so don't judge me. Kanji over bamboo. See if it actually pops up what I'm looking for. So we're looking to you could put kanji symbols. Somebody could do kanji calligraphy over, like, so see how this almost looks like that bamboo curtain, right? So you can have something like this framed, but you just have a minimalist kanji over the top. You have somebody do calligraphy kanji over the top of that. And now you could be hanging these all over the place, and they would fill your space up with pretty damn inexpensive. Because remember, this you don't even need frames for this then in this case, right? We go back to this threshold. This thing is $28 for a 72-inch tall bamboo textured blind. Okay. And then you have somebody you can actually cut this bad boy in half. So it's only 12 feet wide, 72 inches tall. And you've got these really tall strips. And you make it like, you could keep it 23, make it maybe a little bit shorter, but you can have basically these vertical things that they were supposed to be blinds, but now you've turned them into pieces of art, and you have somebody do kanji over the top of them. And you incorporate these drop roll style pieces of art into your home. And we're back to your listing, hopefully. And you just imagine like dropping like those bamboo kanji things into your space. Right? That would be one super cheap way to pull off this decor. And what's great about this minimalist kanji thing is you can find an artist that can pull this off, and it's not going to be expensive. So imagine you paint this whole place black, right? You've got your vertical plants. You could even get like your carpet's probably fine, but you could even get like rugs or carpets that actually have that like bamboo-ish kind of look to it.
Yeah.
And then you can be doing these drop kanji pieces of artwork all over the place and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. I like that. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You're looking for an immersive experience, right?
Yes.
And that's why we're painting the ceiling and everything else. And these are inexpensive ways to surround the home with all the things that are congruent to the experience you're trying to create.
Right. Okay. Because I thought about that wall, that blank wall in the dining room. I thought about making it a plant wall, or at least part of it.
You
But
could. Now, here's a real fun way. The thing about the dining room, though, is will the dining room really suit a plant wall? Like, do people tend to eat on a plant wall? What you can do, let me see if I can find something that you're looking for instead. Let me try to find you could do a plant wall with a view. Mural of jungle overlooking, let's say, just say river. I'm going to go share. What you can do is you can use a plant wall wallpaper, right?
I like it.
But it's wallpaper with a view, right? And this is not exactly what I'm looking for, because that's like a dead on view. You want like almost bird's eye view overlook. You want something that looks like this photo actually. Look, there's a table in front of it, but you want to actually be slightly higher altitude than the rest of the shot is kind of what we're looking at.
Not so busy, but more zen, a zen feeling.
Yeah, and so people like to, like, if you've ever eaten on a patio in some foreign country, like if you've been to the Amalfi Coast, right? I think actually Amalfi Coast view dinner table. So this is kind of like you're eating with a view, right? So now if you can create a Zen version of this type of perspective where somebody's sitting, but they get that perspective with a wallpaper, right? They're looking down at the water, right? So
gotcha.
I actually took a photo of this of a fishing boat once. Thailand fishing boat in bay. I didn't upload the photo, but hopefully somebody's got a version of what I'm talking about. So I took a photo in Koh Samui that is kind of like this, but it's looking down at the water, and there's like just a fishing boat, right? And it's the downward angle of the shot that makes it so much more interesting. So if you're going to do a plant wall, you could do like a plant wall that has kind of like this look to it, but you want to make sure it's like looking at a slightly downward angle. Like even this is a little bit better. You know what I mean? And
so you're saying fill that whole wall with that type of
with the look? Yeah, but when you do wallpaper, it's not going to be as expensive. Thankfully, you have to get the wallpaper probably custom printed to do the exact shot that you want, but you might be able to find a wallpaper company that has something similar. Like a shot like this could work, right? Or you could even just have art. This is like a piece of artwork, right? You can have a couple big pieces of artwork and then paint the background a matching color.
Gotcha.
So yeah, in this case, I don't know if I can do an overlay for you, but save image to downloads. Let me go back to your thing here. See if I can grab a screen grab of this. Let's hope that my computer can handle all of the work that I'm putting it through right now. We're going to take your table and we're going to imagine, first things first, we're going to take part of this table. Let's just do that. Okay, we're going to fill, we're going to make a new layer. We're going to fill this with a color. Let's imagine a really dark green like that. We're going to hit the overlay, see if I can affect this so that we can make it darker. Let's imagine that we got like this junglish green color. This is more puke green, but hopefully we can pull this off. Then let's find this piece of artwork. And so now you have this gigantic piece of artwork that are like along the wall here, something like that. You'd have this green background color, and then you'd have the artwork, and then you would additionally put a big fake umbrella plant. Let's see if I can find an umbrella plant. And guys, the reason why I'm showing this in Photoshop is because this is kind of something that you guys can do. Now for this, what we can do is we can actually click on this and just remove the white from it. Ta-da! And now we can imagine scaling this to the right size. If you guys are like, I don't know what to do with my place, you can start doing things like this where you're like, and then with J is for copy, we can put this bad boy back here and we'd actually have this thing probably behind the chair. So let me actually just roughly cut this out as if the chair is in front of it, just for funsies. Okay.
Right.
So you just see what I mean here? Now we can play with the color of the wall too, right? Hard light, go back to this blend mode. So we could choose what color green we want, right? So imagine like it's really dark green here. So this is how you can be like, I don't know what to do with my room, but you can create something with a photo,
right.
Photoshop. So what I was imagining initially was for you to have this big mural in the background that's kind of like wallpaper driven. Let's go to rasterize layer, take this table, new layer via copy. We're going to bring that to the front here. And then like, that's kind of like what I was imagining, you know?
Oh yeah.
With a wallpaper where you've got this view, you know, that's kind of what I love it. Create. So with wallpaper, you can do something like that, right? Instead of just having a plant wall where it's just flat plant, you have what looks like to be a plant wall, but it's got a perspective as if you're sitting on a table in a restaurant somewhere where the plant would have been more relevant.
Okay. I like that.
So thanks for coming to my TED Talk on that.
So yeah, because that dining room is kind of small, so that makes sense to kind of open it out. It's small relative to that enclosed space, but if you look at it from the angle of the picture, you know, it's really kind of one room with a living room. But if you're sitting at the table, you know, that does kind of make it feel less closed in on that side. I love it. Okay.
Yeah, so by doing that too, then you don't have to worry about using some big divider to try to separate the spaces in your shots, because now that the next room is interesting, you actually want somebody to peep the other room in the shot, right?
Absolutely.
So in photography for Airbnb, we're trying to hide anything that loses somebody within our funnel. A lot of people don't understand this, but photography is just marketing, right? That's all we're doing is marketing the property. It's not even disclosure, right? You want somebody to see the property in such a way that it keeps their buying temperature high, which is why repetitive photos, like you take 5 photos of the living room at slightly different angles, that's a big no-no, right? Taking photos of your washer and dryer in a way that is not exciting, why put it in there, right? Put an exciting photo of a washer and dryer, even though it's not your washer and dryer, because you want to be representative of what you offer. And as long as you're not really actually catfishing, right? If you've got a good washer and dryer, but the layout's just hard to pull off, get a different photo of the washer and dryer. No one's going to say, this person really upset me with that washer and dryer photo, right? But if you can't show something well, it's probably better not to show it. So that's why the divider blocking your dining room is not well. It's kind of hard to take photos of something well that isn't well in the first place. So you'd use a divider to block it, and blocking it from a certain photo isn't I wouldn't say, I'm fighting for the right word, but it isn't a unethical practice or an illicit practice to try to focus somebody's attention on the living room if the living room shot is good, right? Then do your best shot of shooting the dining room for itself. If you can't have the dining room look good in the living room shot, then don't let it be in the living room shot, and then do your best job standalone in the dining room, is what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay. So you talked a lot earlier about with the young lady about adding the hot tub and everything. And I'm thinking we're gonna do I'm going to another house now, a fire pit ring. I don't know if you remember, I showed you a house with a pool before, and now my bookings are way low on that one. And I think it's because two things. That of course the pool is closed now, and the house is in South Haven, Mississippi, which I have another house that's performing well. I mean, I'm like totally booked for the next 2 weeks.
South Haven?
Huh?
In South Haven as well?
South Haven, Mississippi, which is
So you
kind of
got one that's doing well and one that's not?
Yeah, so the one that's not is in Walls, Mississippi, which is it's not even a 10-minute drive from my other house that's performing well. So it's a little bit further off the beaten path, and it's kind of in the country. But literally you can get to all the shopping and everything in 10 minutes. So
so the thing though about that though is, are people choosing location? Right?
right.
So if South Haven is more of a relevant location because of size of the city, population, and what people are coming in for, then you might find yourself in a tough spot, right? Because if somebody can get a sufficient property at a sufficient price with a better location, they'll choose that, right? So why would somebody choose to be 10 minutes out of the way for location-based travel, right? So if South Haven was experiential travel, right? You're here for an experience, then you could have people go, yeah, let's drive up this mountain a little bit or towards this river or be more secluded because we're looking for the experience of the stay. But if you're traveling for commerce or anything to do with like, I gotta be here, I gotta be by this hospital, or I gotta be by this courthouse, or I've got to be by this construction site, anything like that, then the 10 minutes out of the way becomes a logistical problem. So where is your nearest airport to either property?
Memphis. So Memphis Airport is the closest airport. Now the one I just posted in the chat, and I'm with you on that about the 10-minute drive. So I'm thinking that we have to make this more of a destination, and it is very well could be, because we have a huge, like, we are probably an acre from the street. Like, to drive from the, once they turn in the driveway, they drive a long way to get to the house.
In that case,
maybe not an acre, maybe half an acre.
In that case, you really need to push that, right? So the first photo is good, but if somebody clicks on your listing because they like the first photo, and then they find out that it's not what they wanted after clicking, you lose them, right? This is a nice place. Because like, so you got the interior, great. Then you got the outside, cool, pool, nice, whatever. But then if somebody's going to look now at the map, wherever the map is here, if they even have it anymore, Jesus, there we go. They look at the map and go, oh, I don't like where it is. This is really just really not going to work for us, right? Then you're appealing to people who might be location sensitive and design sensitive with your first photo, cool. But then you're losing them logistically in the final points of the decision-making process, where if you have, let's see, because there's really nothing wrong with this listing, right? This shot isn't even good enough for what I'm trying to express, right? So the pool shot is good. Is there a chance to get the pool shot in a way that also makes it look like the property's secluded? That would be really fun. So what I would look for is ranch home long driveway. We want to sell a look, right? And so when you see a photo, I mean, yeah, you see a photo like this is sufficient in a way. We want even to sell more of this kind of look, right? But you're not that dramatic, right? You don't have that long of a driveway. But that's really what we're trying to show is like, hey, you are like, we have a spot that's out there, right? Where if this had a really long driveway, like this one kind of has that long driveway look. This one, there's a trick in cinematography that we're trying to accomplish here, which is we're trying to express an experience or an emotion by showing them something that they then extrapolate what it means. So
Okay.
If you have a photo that is up close and personal like this, that it expresses something different than you have like, oh, this is out there, right?
Right.
So if you have a photo of the home far away, it sells seclusion, right? So somebody who clicks on a hero photo that's like this, like, I'm looking for something secluded, right? You see how we're like, the hero photo is matching the vibe of your buyer. So you might actually only have a problem with the fact that when you first click on the listing, you've got this really nice interior design, but people are not looking for secluded. And then when they look at your map, they're like, oh, this is a little too far away. But if you have a hero photo that's like, hey, we're out there, right? So it's like, oh, I'm looking for something kind of like that. And they'll click on you. Because the thing is, what you're doing is you're losing your customer because you're wrong. The wrong customer's clicking in the first place.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So what else would you do? Because I've concluded that because the pool is closed, we're not attracting the right customer. So what else?
Well, then if leading with the photo of the pool is going to be the problem. But if you're not leading with the photo of the pool, then you're not going to lose the customer when you don't have it.
Okay.
Right. So if the pool is closed, you just remove pool as the amenity, you're never going to get searched for it and you're fine.
Okay. So for now, while the pool is closed, do I need to take that totally off?
Yeah. Remove the photos of the pool, remove the pool listed as the amenity, and adjust your prices as if you don't have a pool.
Yeah, I've done that part, but I haven't removed the actual pool.
Yeah.
Because the pool deck is still
sell what you have. If you have seclusion, like really try to sell that like long driveway secluded, you get your space kind of vibe.
Okay.
Are you buying any forests?
There is a forest area, but we've got work to do in the back. There's commercial buildings back there, so
So you're not gonna get the kind of shot that I'm hoping for.
No. Well, the front of the house now, the rolling drop, like we have to have a tractor to cut the front. And there's like this big pear tree and this big, huge, gargantuan tree out there. So that part could probably be doctored up to me.
You want to make a vibe. And the reason why I ask is because some of my best students with secluded properties will have photos like this.
Oh, okay.
Wildlife on property, if it's possible, right?
Nice.
So you have photos that express that you have a high shot of seeing some wildlife, stuff like that,
Gotcha. Okay. Because we do have a barn back there, but all that stuff needs to be worked on.
Oh, hey, you can make a barn look moody. If it's old and needs work, cool. But you can find a way to take a photo of it in a way that's like, it's cool like that.
Okay.
Right? Find a way to make it look like, remember haunted houses like look ugly as hell and they're relevant when they're relevant, So a lot of people like, okay, here's something you do. Find a local Instagram person, right? Old barn photo shoot. Find an Instagram person who likes taking nature shots, outdoor shots, stuff like that. Find a way to incorporate the barn itself into some photography, right? Where it might be this old tattered barn, but you get some subject-based photography like the one that had the chick in the front, and you find a way to make it look cool for that purpose of photography. And all of a sudden, this ugly ass barn with no personality suddenly becomes a moody, artistic barn with a ton of personality. Okay. Find a way to sell what you have by changing the context at which people view that thing that you have.
Right. Okay. And then like the pool deck.
What's that restaurant, Dick's Last Resort, where they basically verbally abuse you while you eat? Like, we give you terrible customer service, and that is actually the selling point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I never thought about that because I've had people like comment on the barn, like, oh, that's so cool, because they can't get to it from the house. We have it kind of where it's like the pool house is where it's locked off. They can't go back there where the commercial buildings are, but they can see the barn. So I've actually had people comment on it and think it's really cool. So I never thought about incorporating that into my pictures. Like they can actually stand there and take a picture with it behind them. But
Yeah. Do you own the property?
yes.
So create like a trail, driveway, something that kind of goes in a loop that you can allow people to safely go along your property in a certain direction, closer to the barn, and then loop back around, right?
Yeah,
Almost
that's
like
very
a
possible.
almost like a pin needle kind of like out loop, come back thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that way somebody could get closer to the barn and take cool photos. So yeah, just make a trail, which shouldn't cost you too much money. You till it and add some whatever to it. That allows you to get to the part where a photographer would want to do their photography from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And then we're planning on doing like a fire ring, like area where we have some lounge chairs with a fire pit and everything out there to kind of boost up that outdoor treasure that we have.
Cool.
Because
And if
I
you
was
did
like,
it in
yeah,
that
we need
direction
another
towards the barn,
attraction now.
and if you
Uh-huh.
did it, if you can identify where people want to take photos of the barn in the backdrop, like if that is relevant, then building the fire pit ring area in a place that's adjacent to where somebody would be standing with the camera itself, because people do portrait photography, which is a longer lens, which means the person will probably be standing a distance away from the barn anyway for the shot, not a big deal. And so you can have the fire pit not too close to the barn, but it will still be able to be incorporated into certain people's shots when they want to be sitting at the campfire, like, and have the barn in the back for the shot. Everybody wants to show off what they're up to, and then working the fire pit into the right compositional angle where the barn is in the background and the fire pit is in the foreground, right? So people are sitting here and the barn's in the back for that shot. That is going to be a way to really sell that. So you'll have photos of the barn with people doing like some portrait photography. Then you have a big wider shot that has the fire pit. The fire pit's like roaring where the sun is going down and the barn is in the back. And so you'll have that shot incorporated into your listing. And that fire pit with the barn might be your hero photo when it's done. Right. Because that type of shot sells seclusion. Whenever somebody sees a barn or sees a fire pit or sees that much depth of field in a shot, that says we're in the middle of nowhere, right? In a really cool way.
Yeah, love it. All right. I'm gonna definitely explore that. I just have a general question, Sean.
Sure.
Because I'm thinking about what my next step is as far as scaling. So I'm up to 6 large single family houses now, ranging from 3-bedroom to 5-bedroom. And I've been kind of ready, set, go with your strategy with the smaller units, but I'm also, just observing that I think I'm really good with the larger houses. So do you see a trend with everything that's going on with the market, with people wanting larger spaces? And do you see that the smaller units are kind of getting oversaturated? Or is that really, location specific?
It is location specific, but there is an advantage to larger spaces, which is that hotels can't compete with you nearly as much, right?
Right.
You are more relevant to Airbnb's offering by being a larger space. So that's always good. Right now, it's by far cheaper to rent than buy. So if you were to expand, I'd rent some houses.
Yeah, that's definitely the next step.
Yeah. With that said, one of the main things you're missing with homes is it's harder to build a housekeeping team that can scale, right? So there's a few ways to do this, right? One is the arbitrage apartments to do smaller stuff, so you can hire housekeepers by the hour, and then you can mix in weekday housekeepings on the smaller units. Two is to do Airbnb rooms as a split. So anytime that you don't have the home booked on the weekend for the entire place, you can let people stay in a private room at a smaller price, right? And even if it doesn't give you much upside at all to do Airbnb rooms, the fact that you're paying $100 less per turnover now on your main days, you're making that much money in profit every weekend by saving $100 per housekeeping. So even if doing rooms is a break-even endeavor to employ a housekeeping team, you've now made $400 a month every time you save $100 per weekend on a housekeeping, right? So that's a synergy play. So you can then also build a housekeeping team and sell them to other Airbnb operators at a small margin, right? So you hire your housekeepers in Mississippi for $14 an hour would be easy because of the Mississippi doesn't make a lot of money. And then you turn around and you sell those people for $22, $25 an hour. And that's way affordable compared to what most people pay. And now all of a sudden you're making a little margin on your hourly staff that you've acquired and trained and managed and give them supplies and all the stuff. So you're now creating a product for other hosts, but also you can even sell your product to the general community, like to regular consumers. So either way, either of those three options gives you the option to hire housekeepers by the hour, get the cost reduction, and immediately apply that savings to the housekeepings you're already doing.
Right. Makes sense. So even if I decide to go into the apartments, you're saying that's a good way to kind of leverage, hire that staff to manage to clean both the smaller units and the larger units. The savings.
Yeah, even if the studio apartments only made you $200 a month net income per studio, you've now saved $100 of housekeeping on your house or something, right?
Gotcha.
And you can directly apply that savings to the apartment. So let's say you pick up 4 apartments for every house, so that way you can hire full-time housekeepers. And you save $400 a month per house on housekeeping. You can apply that $100 a month or $100. Yeah, you can apply $100 a month of extra profit to each apartment you picked up. So instead of making $300 a month, they're actually making $400 because of the cost reduction.
Right. I got you. Okay. Makes sense. I think that covers all my questions.
Cool. They were good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, so have fun building a little trail to and from the barn. Let me know how that goes, because I'd actually like to see photos of that barn. So post it in Cracking Superhost if you can, so we can.
I will. Next time I go out there, I have a guest there until Tuesday. So when they check out, I'm gonna go and take some shots of that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Seeing it. Yeah, no problem. All right, Max, you are next, and then after Max is Iris. Floor is yours, Max.
Hey, what's up, Sean? Great advice last week in Miami you gave me about finding new arbitrage spots. So I started some research. I learned about the regulations, stuff like that. I think I have a pretty well grasp of it. The thing is with Arbitrage Miami is that a lot of the nice apartments are in these kind of skyscraper apartment complexes. And those are kind of the places you want to be, because they have the nicest amenities. They look great on photos, and to really capture the money down here, like the corporate guests, they like to stay in those kind of apartments. And I've actually found listings that are in these apartments, and I've actually narrowed down which apartments they are. But I'm pretty sure most of them are illegal. They're probably just doing it, and I can't do that for obvious reasons. You know, we have LLC, and we want to keep it clean for long term. But how would you go about getting your foot in the door on these really nice apartment complexes? And I know you have a whole sales masterclass selling landlords, but when it comes to like these really big mega $500 million investments, unless they're really struggling on finding, filling their rooms, which a lot of them aren't, how would you get your foot in the door on these, or would you just stay clear from these kind of mega skyscrapers?
Okay, there's a few things that you can do, right? If you're pretty sure that those units are illegal, then you can pay someone else to call and ask if they can do like LLCs, corporate leases, and follow the script. Just have somebody else do it. Make it a female too, so that way, like they won't. If you come to the property later in the near future, they won't associate that call, right? Your research call can be done by somebody else. If you then, man, I can't believe I'm going to give you this. I'm just an educator. I'm not endorsing this decision. But then if enforcement is nil, right? If it's absolute anarchy, but you wanted to cover your ass, then just use a different LLC, right? So that way, if it does souffle, your other shell corporation strawmans and your main LLC is fine. In the case that you become certain that you could operate because everyone else is, in that case that you're certain, your fail-safe would be just to use a proxy LLC, just a different one.
Right.
So that'd be that. And you can buy those, right? You could buy a 2-year-old LLC for like $1,200 if that becomes your play. Like if it looks like a slam dunk deal and you want an older LLC fast if you don't have a spare one. Then if you wanted to try to do legit, the thing that we usually teach to get buildings to consider this, like let's say the front door option doesn't work, you go through our regular script, you go through the front door, they shoot you down, it's not working out, you even offer 10 or 15 doors, nobody's biting. Well, then you go and talk to the regional about multiple properties. So you have to do research about the property management company, find out where all their properties are, try to find out which ones are low occupancy, right? And then go to that regional and say, hey, we've got an appetite for about 30 properties. We're looking for 4 or 5 different buildings in this whole region of South Florida. We've got our eye on a couple, and I'd like to work out a deal with you. I see that you've got lower occupancy. These other properties, we can make these ones work. We want some in these properties, and we are willing to give you business in these other ones. And you try to like deal with the regional because they're going to be much more likely to make these types of like risk-friendly decisions because they're not worried about getting fired, right? At the end of the day, they're the ones who would do the firing.
Okay, so when you say regional, you mean kind of like the umbrella corporation who manages multiple of these skyscraper apartments, or do you mean?
So imagine like Greystar as an example of a really big property management company, right? And they've got property managers per building. Then they've got district or regional that oversees 10 or 15 or 20 buildings. And then they've got state level people above that and stuff like that. So if a property manager for one property won't play ball, then you find out what all properties are in the general area and assume that they're all in the same region, or just assume that the whole area is a region. And then you're going to move up and say, you're going to call a different building, right? Not one that you went to, because let's say maybe you lost some rapport with that manager. You call a different building and say, hey, I'm looking to pick up some units with we're using Greystar as this hypothetical example. I found a bunch of Greystar properties that I think we can use. We're looking for about 30 doors total. We want to rent some from you, and we've got some other buildings of yours that we'd like to rent from as well. And we'd like to talk to someone more at a district level to try to bundle a rental agreement for 5 or 6 buildings of yours at the same time. Who would be the best person for us to reach out to? And you ask that other building to give you the layup.
Okay, I see. And then would the same deal kind of apply with the selling short term? You don't want to sell them too early on your business model, or because?
Well, so at this point, the fact that your business model is heavily short-term rental doesn't matter yet until you get on the phone with the region.
Yeah.
Because that is above anybody else's pay grade.
Right. So let's say I get on the phone with the regional. We actually get to the point where we're making a deal. Hey, I'll give you a dozen properties and 3 locations or whatever happens to be. Would you try to get in person at that point? Or is it not even worth his time to do a kind of lunch meeting like that, So
you're actually right about this, where we normally tell you go find a landlord, pitch him in person, because the reason why we do that is we're trying to really maximize the art of the influence on a single family or small landlord. A regional, his time is likely worth money, and he's not going to sit down and like meet with you over coffee to do a deal, right? People at this level are much more executive, much more willing to do a deal, closing over the phone. They do business all the time too. So you're really making a value proposition based on the ones and the zeros, and it's going to be much more logic driven. When you pitch a single family homeowner or small landlord, you're pitching emotion. Then in our apartment script, we're just running an aerodynamic like efficiency play, trying to drill through the bureaucracy, and they're making this risk trade-off, right? We're trying to get them to have no red flags, so they say yes to our risk trade-off. But then at the regional level, this person's looking at ones and zeros. They're way more disassociated. They're going to have less gut reaction than even a property manager would. So yeah, you're going to say, hey, here's what we got going on. Here's what we can give you. Here's what we're looking to accomplish. And by keeping it professional and on the phone, that's respectful, that's concise. And they're much more likely to see you as a peer if you play the game their way at that point.
Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so essentially just get as high as you can to someone who's willing to make a deal with you, and then just kind of drill that. And if I call 15 different buildings and I can't make it work, maybe it's because my sales aren't good enough, or it's because it's just not a model no one really considers because they have so much occupancy. At that point, I'd probably have to move my model to, I don't know, farther out in I'm downtown Miami, like in the skyscrapers. So, I mean, at that point, I probably have to go and find a different area that's a little farther out. I guess would be the only option at that point, right?
Well, there are properties that are a little less professionally managed. A little less. I'm gonna turn the recorder off as I name this one. So,
okay, perfect.
So that building specifically, you could probably go to because they're not well managed, and you can tell when you're there that the upkeep isn't so good and it's a little older. They're just doing their thing. Those types of buildings probably will play ball, even though they're Brickell downtown. Like those ones might do it.
Brickell, yeah.
So I'll get you that specific building, and you can maybe take a swing at the bat at that one. But if that doesn't work, then yeah, there's a couple things at play, right? There's a couple things that could be at play. Oh, my computer's dying somehow. Okay, hold on. Let's hope we can make this work still. There's a couple things that are at play here. It could be market forces, and when the rent market starts to unwind and die, people will do ball with you still when the market starts to unfold. It could be the property management company's not down for that. So you want to keep everybody in your sheet, like you want to have a lead sheet, and you're going to hit them up every 3 or 4 months, because if a property manager changes or
right.
changes, or if that building changes property management companies, all of these reasons are for you to come at them again. And then you're gonna hit them a second time. Or if the economy starts to go to trash and rent prices start to drop, or their occupancy starts to decline, you can call every building every 3 months and ask what their occupancy is. And anybody who drops, like say below 88% occupancy, is in a really bad spot. So under 90%, I'd say it's a time for you to always feel confident repitching anytime somebody drops under 90. Even under 91% for some of these buildings, I'm sure you could probably go, yeah, let's try to play ball. So things will change, and as any of those things change, either the company, the managers, the occupancy, or the economy, you can always call them back again. But if you're getting a brick wall from a bunch of buildings because everything's just too strong, then yeah, you want to go to suburbs. You want to go down from A class to B class. You want to go to single family homeowners. You want to do fourplexes. You want to change the properties that you're prospecting for. You can even try like pitching the co-host deals, like I told you, since you got your one good property. You could be fishing for co-hosting by doing proper networking in the city and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah. So there's always opportunity. Keep them in your funnel. Downgrade if you have to, but keep hitting them up every 3-4 months, because things change and market changes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. One
cool.
second.
Cool.
Let me plug my computer in. Thank you for your patience. Now we can not die during the rest of this call. So go ahead. Anything else?
No, that's honestly covers it, Sean. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and play ball and see what I can swing here, and I'll come back with any progress.
Cool. Sounds good.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Yeah. Leslie, I think you're next, and then Iris after that. Pretty sure. So go ahead, Leslie.
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, now I can't hear you. Let me see what's going on. Just a second here. I have a bad AirPod. Okay. There, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Just a sec. I cannot hear you. Let me see why.
Okay.
I'm not. Is there something on your end, or is it mine?
No, I think Iris, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I don't know why it's doing this. Can you go to the next caller and
cool.
Then come back to me, and I'll get this going on my laptop instead,
Yeah,
okay?
that
Sorry.
works. No worries. All right, Iris, go for it.
Thanks, Sean.
Hi.
Hi. I just had a quick question on how do I remove the non-refundable discount for cancellation? I can't seem to find that on the Airbnb site right now.
You probably have to go to the single calendar. I'm pretty sure pricing and availability settings have moved entirely to the individual calendar section of a listing.
Perfect.
But otherwise, it's going to be by your house rules now. So I'm on the travel side of Airbnb. It might take me a quick second to get onto a listing and find it. So let me just let you know if I can find it. Availability shows calendar sync, more availability settings, restricted check-in and checkout, no. Preparation time, advance notice. Okay, so it's actually still going to be on your listing. It's not going to be on the calendar. And it's going to be, I believe it's policies and rules. So let me share screen here. So policies and rules here, cancellation policies is actually very top here. And then there you go. So you've got, long-term. Okay, so they've actually added a long-term firm versus strict, which is interesting. After that, 30 days non-refundable. Okay, so it looks like full refund if within 48 hours of booking and at least 28 hours in advance, and at least 28 days. Full refund up to 30 days before check-in. It looks like firm and strict are pretty damn similar. Strict means if somebody cancels after 48 hours, even if it's more than 28 days in advance, the first 30 days are non-refundable. Interesting. I'll have to test that or ask Airbnb to do the math on that. But anyway, that's where you find it. It's still on the listing under policies.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much on that. And I remember you had answered this question before, but it was, when would you change that cancellation policy? Was it certain peak seasons that you would make it flexible?
Yeah, so this is really splitting hairs, right? 2 months before slow season, when you start to expect to get bookings for 2 weeks before peak, right? There's something we call a golden window, which is where you get your bookings, your best bookings come in the golden window. If you are entering into that window, you can then go into flexible cancellation policy and up your prices, right? And people may pay more for your listing to be also flexible, where other people are more strict and moderate. So in peak season, if you're going to be one of the first people booked, you want to be booked at a premium. So you make your place a premium at flexible, right? Then as you enter into peak season, you then change your settings down to firm again, probably. And the reason why we do this coming into peak season only is if your peak season is a time where there's total absorption, right? People booked for more in advance at flexible. People are going to book for more last minute because nothing's available. So anybody who drops off because they canceled your flexible stay, the dates remaining will still get booked, usually at a premium, because peak season, if there's no inventory left, they have to pay whatever you want. So this is the only time that a flexible stay is an advantage for a strong listing. The only other time you use flexible stay is if your listing is not strong. And if it's one of the only ways to really compete in a market, like being pet friendly or flexible cancellation, you only really want to do if your competitors beat you everywhere else.
I see. Thank you. That is very, in the weeds, which is great. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, the last thing you want is a flexible stay coming into slow season because somebody cancels, you're pooched, right? Flexible coming into peak, then you have a really strong opportunity to get rebooked. That's the risk trade-off we're looking to play here. So yeah, you maybe would turn flexible on for 6 weeks in preparation of peak season.
And I had another question regarding channel managers. So if I'm about to sign up for Hostfully.
Okay.
If I use Hostfully, will all of these policies with the cancellation, refund, or non-refundable, does all of that transfer over as well?
Yeah, you typically start doing all of this stuff from the channel manager, like Hostfully. You start running all of your listing details, because what it does is distributes those to Airbnb, to VRBO, to booking.com. It will make dynamic changes to all of your platforms.
Okay, great. That's great to know. And it'll also apply discounts across the board the same way, right?
Yes, with the exception of when we use rule sets on Airbnb, we will still always touch Airbnb for this, because you can deploy a pricing strategy on Airbnb and deploy a pricing strategy on VRBO that can largely be similar until you hit a point that you need to start using rule sets on Airbnb, right? You do 3-day discounts and 4-day discounts and then remove those, right? So let's say Airbnb, you have a strategy where you have a 4-day discount on Airbnb baseline. VRBO doesn't have that, right? So your VRBO strategy will never be to use a 4-day discount, but it will also never require you to remove it as you drop your prices. But on Airbnb, you might be lowering your prices so much that you want to remove your 4-day discount on certain days. So we still go to the multi-calendar and use rule sets to make minor adjustments to whether or not somebody can have a 3 or 4-day discount, right? Or if we want to have a 3-day minimum length of stay and then drop that down to a 1-day minimum length of stay last minute, this is something that can happen on Airbnb. So for example, one of the easiest ways to do this is let Airbnb charge the guest their 14%, where Airbnb forces you to pay it off the top, right? So what you can do is you can raise your prices on VRBO by about 25%. And then you have a monthly discount and a weekly discount. And then Airbnb, you're cheaper, like by that 25%. But that's because, actually, hold on. That is if you don't do a 3-day or 4-day discount, by the way. And you just have your regular weekly, monthly discounts, because the Airbnb is going to upcharge the guest. VRBO customers tend to pay more. So this 25% increase offsets not only the fact that VRBO is deducting from you and Airbnb is charging the guest, but you also get a little bit more premium on VRBO because VRBO guests pay more. If you do a 3-day or 4-day discount strategy, you'd actually then increase your Airbnb price to be in line with VRBO. So you're both about the same. But then you have those 3-day discounts or 4-day discounts that bring you back down to that original price. So if you're 25% cheaper than VRBO and Airbnb because of that upcharge thing, you raise your prices 25% and then do a 4-day discount of 20% off. And then you're back to where you are for a 4-day. But then as you start to change your prices and you get to the last minute and you start to gut your rates on Airbnb, you would then use a rule set to overwrite the 4-day discount and say, sorry, no more discounts. We're cheap enough. You also can do this with length of stays. With bigger houses, you might want a 4-night minimum stay. That might just be the only way to really guarantee maximum revenue in some destination markets. But what happens then is after you start to get bookings for like the weekends and you have these orphan days, you then use a rule set to make it a 2-night minimum stay when you have orphan days. And then hyper last minute, you might even allow a 1-night minimum stay on Airbnb. But you don't really ever change that on VRBO because VRBO doesn't have last minute bookings like that for destination spots anyway. So these are 2 reasons why we use rule sets on Airbnb, even though you're still working through a channel manager to manage VRBO and Airbnb at the same time. Airbnb will show up with a lot of last minute tweaks for 1-day stays and, hyper discounted rates and stuff.
Awesome. I can't wait to play around with it. Thank you so much. And I will see you at WealthCon in Nashville in February.
Oh, yeah. Guys, remember to use my name as a promo code, SEAN.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I haven't purchased the tickets. I just got the flights booked. So thank you.
Cool. Yeah. Use my name because they're going to buy me coffee. If I sell tickets, they're not giving us a commission or anything, but they'll probably give me free coffee if you use my promo code. So.
Cool.
I think they want to know who's going to sell the most tickets, who's got the most influence, because I think they're using that therefore they're like, who are we inviting back next year?
You just enter that in at checkout?
Yeah. Promo code Sean. Hopefully they gave you a discount. That'd be nice.
Okay. Yeah. I'll check it out and I'll let you know.
Cool. All right, Leslie, we're going to give this another shot.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I'm watching a large puppy alone this week and it's been chaotic. So, hey, so I know that you know my ongoing saga with my concern on when I got deplatformed for a few days there with Airbnb. So I have some questions on a few strategies. I know we talked about getting that listing up by just, differentiating the address and changing a few things. And I'm going to do that when I have a tenant for a month that a guest, I guess, to the end of November. So I'm going to try that. But I want to know your thoughts on, I'm kind of worried because if I have somebody that does that again, I could get taken off permanently. So I'm trying to preemptively figure out maybe if I should put my listings and start new ones with my husband's name, or some strategies, because I have LLCs, but I own them all, and I have to do my driver's license. I could put somebody else on there. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm worried. Because I told you, they said one of the reasons is that they'd had some kind of an incident there a year and a half before, but didn't tell me, and I didn't know what they're talking about. So they'll see it as strike 3. Right?
If they strike 3 you, you could actually claim that that's retaliation for something that you weren't involved in, and that would be an arbitration claim.
But what do you mean that I wasn't involved in? Because I'm still the host of all 19 of my listings right now.
Oh, but you're saying the thing that happened a year and a half ago was something that you were hosting while it happened, or it was before?
No, I was hosting. So, okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have expected you to remember the details. You have so much going on. So it was a year ago, and when that, guest had that little 1-inch cube that was a piece of a GoPro sitting there, and they just looked at it and shut my stuff down. So you probably remember that. Well, when I wrote to Catherine Powell and I had them look into it, they said, oh, we'll reinstate 18 of your 19 listings, but we're going to keep this one down because we had another incident March 2 years ago. I was like, what incident would that be? And that's when my co-host is like, yeah, they asked me if I would take a picture of a closet to close it out, and and just acted like it was some. And they said, oh, yeah, that's what I thought, like it was some false thing. So she didn't think anything of it. So they piggybacked that onto when that one little complaint was made, and it was ironically in the same listing. So I have been the host the whole time, because I've owned my properties for like 22 years. So I'm the only one.
So two things then too, right? If your address is far enough away from other people, actually, you can even make a unit number for your address. Just make a slightly different address for when you recreate the listing.
Right. That's where I'm at now for that. But what I'm saying is, my driver's license is associated for all of those. So what happened, so 18 of the 19 listings I'm the host on, and then my co-host owns one, so she's the co-host on, so she's the co-host on my 18. So when they removed me, they removed all of them that have my driver's license and me as the host on it, right? But they did not remove hers. So what I'm saying is,
here's the thing,
would
though,
take them all down.
They did it because of a specific listing.
Yes.
With the listing and a second strike, right?
So you don't think it has to do with me, though? That's what I'm worried about.
No, so let's say you have a fresh listing. Let's say one of your other listings has a problem, right?
Right.
Okay. They're not gonna append that to the other address's other issues. The security breaches that have happened at the other address are still sandboxed to that address. So
okay, so they wouldn't look at me as it being me. Well, then why did they take down all of my listings if it was sandboxed to that listing?
Well, because that address had a second strike, which then says, oh, this host is a repeat offender.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it's like A equals B equals C, but you can kill that domino effect by removing that exact address from your portfolio. Then the repeat offender thing won't happen because that specific unit won't ever have any new instances. So I don't know if you can even get the post office to recognize a second address, be like, hey, like we've added an ADU and we're putting up a second mailbox. We want to put a different address for it.
Well, it's in a triplex, and I have, so right now they're labeled A, B, and C. And
you do the 1, 2, 3
Airbnb A, B, and C. So I could change it to be A, 2, and C, because I don't want to change my listings for the others, because I've got 250 reviews and a lot of, so I could put something else on that second listing. And also I could spell out west and spell out north, where it would, if you were typing in, it would look different, I guess, maybe, because I probably have 22W.
That may not be good enough, because when they do hygiene on the address, like data hygiene on the address, they will see that north might match nothing, but unit 1 is different than unit A, so that would work, right? But
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Won't be good enough.
Okay. So then maybe I just call that one unit B, so it'll look fun. I mean 2, so it would be like 1, A, 2, and C. Because I can't change the other two without starting all over, right? Because they won't let you change the address while you have an
You
active.
would create a new listing with a new address, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd create a new one for the middle unit is what I'm saying, and just have that be 2. It'd look a little strange, but it doesn't matter. People get there and they look for a 2. It doesn't matter that the others are A and C, is my thought, right?
Yeah. I wonder if you can change the I'm trying to see if you can you change the address of your house without moving? This is really what I care to know for you.
No, you really can't, just because it has to do with the public utilities and, you know, all of that. I'm going to be finding that out because my house got oddly named the same address of the house down the road. It was a mistake. So I think I have to start with the postal office, then go to utilities, then I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, so if they materially change your neighborhood, that you could create a reason for the need for an address change on a property. So there are times when you can do that. But otherwise, yeah, you can add additional addresses with the post office, right? If you have a multi-unit building, you could probably add additional addresses to the post office. It's that first responders need to be able to find the property. So the units themselves won't be hard to change legally, but the actual physical number would be hard to change legally unless there's some construction being done that would make it relevant.
And so you're thinking if it was called B and 2 instead of B, they're not going to look at it and go, oh, additional things. To them, it'll look like something completely different. And what if I just had my husband be the host for that one too? Or do you think that's overkill? Because right now I'm the host for all of them.
Making the host would be overkill, I think, because if you just remember our last student from Miami, right? We're talking about units that have 200 units in the same building. And if you saw my example in Addison, where there's like 15 different units in the same building with different hosts, Airbnb constantly has to manage the reality that there are many hosts in one multi-hundred unit building with the same exact physical address, just different unit numbers. This is a total normal thing for them. So they can be under the belief that you have a 6-unit property, there could be 6 different hosts in a 6-unit property, right? So the way that they append this data together, sandboxes the physical instances because they don't want to, like, if John has a shooting in unit number 2, Susan's not responsible in unit number 10. So they're not going to shut down the entire building because John did something wrong in unit 2, right? So, but the effect of this is if you have a unit 2 and you have a unit 10, the instance in unit 2 is still separate from the instance in unit 10, even though you're the same host, right? Just the way that they've built it out is like that. But then, yeah, if you have enough instances as a host in multiple properties, there probably is a watermark, like a high watermark where they blow you out for that too. But individual instances between properties, they understand that there's, like, for example, like I've had over 100 properties since before COVID, right?
Right.
And COVID, there was every night we had something bad happen at a different property. Every night somebody's throwing a party here, there's a shooting there, there's drug activity here or there, because just COVID just destroyed Philadelphia and everybody's booking Airbnbs to do whatever they can because they can't go to bars and stuff. So Philly was rampant with crime. And if they looked at all those instances together as host violations, like host risk, I would have been banned a long time ago, right? But because it was like this building had an issue and then that building had an issue and then that building had an issue, they looked at those all separately. We did have one property that had somebody tried to throw parties multiple times and then they unlisted that one. We're like, hey, we're not allowing these parties. We're victims of this. And we had to appeal it. And we had to show that we were going through the proper protocols to try to prevent these parties and that we've been calling into Airbnb and trying to stop them. We had to prove that later because we did get flagged enough at one property that they removed it. But I think there was a night where we had multiple break-ins at the same time, where multiple guests had properties broken into at the same time, right? And if Airbnb was factoring like multiple units under the same host account together, that alone should have been what banned us, right? If your worry was real, we would have gotten banned when we had multiple break-ins at the same time.
Okay. Well, I was just, I just thought if somebody was really kind of thinking and they thought, okay, this host has had an issue, and they looked at it and they saw that I had a unit that no matter what I do, they might find a similarity about it that was unit B, and now it's number 2. That's just the thing where I thought if I differentiated myself just because this is the same unit is what I'm saying. And I don't know what it is about that unit. I don't know why that's happening, but anyway, so That's why
Yeah,
I
you
had
could
that
create a clean
idea.
slate. You could create a clean slate. You'll be fine.
I could what?
You can create a clean slate by just like slightly altering the address, and you don't need to put on a new host. You'll be okay.
Okay, so you don't think that they would look and go, okay, has she had any infractions or any of that kind of stuff? Because it's per property, what you said at the beginning, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. And then I'm interested in doing rooms, but I have some time because I'm going into my busy season. And so wouldn't be doing it until the spring. And so I'm interested in doing that. And so I don't really want to take your time up on it right now, because I bet you have like maybe some stuff that I could listen to.
Yeah,
Is it in the
we have a little mini course.
okay.
I think it's either rocketgeach.com/rooms, rocketgeach.com/Airbnb rooms. It's one of those two links. I did this webinar on how to do both rooms and whole homes at the same time. So see which link it is. I should have actually put the HTTPS before that. Sorry about that. Yeah, rocketgeach.com/rooms is the one.
Okay.
So yeah, that is the and anybody in Cracking Superhost gets the like discounted pre-sale version of anything that's not already part of the Cracking Superhost program. Some of our webinars are, and some of our webinars aren't. This one I do believe is not part of Cracking Superhost by default, but it's only $25 if you're a Cracking Superhost student. So you can actually tag Jaddy and go, hey, Jaddy or Alberto, like, hey, where do I get the discounted link for this? Because it's more expensive on that for anybody who's not a student.
Okay. All right. And then my other question is, when you had said, and you were kind of talking about earlier, I have a price per head after so many, and it's mostly so when I have to discount. And so I have my unit that, sleeps 10, but people are going to book that when it gets closer to that. So, when I, say that I put it down at $125 a night to attract the 2-person traveler. If I don't charge, and the reason I do it per person, so then if somebody does decide to book with 6 or 8, that's a lot more beds and a lot more cleaning, right? And I couldn't really afford it. I just spend too much cleaning. So if I were to remove that, how do you do that? Like, I mean, if somebody did request, and because I do get weekend people, they, some friends want to get together for a Friday and Saturday with 10 people. I'll get that even on the off season or shoulder season when it's really cheap.
Let's see if we can do okay, so there's a one-time linens fee. There is a management fee. Okay, so resort.
Because I haven't seen one that's tied to the number of guests, even though it should, but I guess it's the same thing.
Yes. So the thing is like the extra guest fee is the only fee that has that, right?
Yeah.
So with that said, you could use the extra guest fee, but then only make it a small amount that really is reflective of your exact cost for like what your exact, not your exact, but your projected cost. So your extra cost might only be $7 or $6 per guest.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
And
other
so,
than
and so that's things too.
Yeah,
you can really, anybody who's really paying attention to this concept, guys, you can have a base price, and then you can factor in my average length of stay is 4 nights. And with my average length of stay being 4 nights, I expect people to consume this much soap and blah, blah, blah and coffee per person. And I expect my cleaning costs to go up a little bit per person. And so you might have a $4 or $6 or $8 per person cost, even after the first person, if you wanted perfect efficiency.
Yeah, you're right. Because I've been charging $25 a person, and it works out well when people have a conference or they have a group that wants to come. I can get a couple $100 because I charge after 4. And
well, what
so
you should be still doing though, in our pricing strategies, you shoot the moon on the price initially, right? So if your place can sleep 10, you're priced for 10. But groups of 10 book further in advance than groups of 4. So what we do is we use our lead time as our marker to do this. Like your danger here is somebody 3 months in advance who's like this hyper planner family, like they might be like 4 people, they book 3 months in advance for 4 people and you don't get that extra $150, right? But a group of 10 would still book that, or a group of 8 would still book that, right? And so, and because supply drops as well, if there's not sufficient properties for a group of 8, they might book yours even though it sleeps 10, and they'll pay the little extra money, right? So this is one of the things about like considering every property has a price regardless of the number of occupants that are actually going to stay in there, right? If I think I might have removed it. I had a student. Let's see here. Yeah, let's see if we go back.
That is the problem I'm having now because I have my prices high in the winter, but they're probably too high for the extra 25 per person. But I don't want somebody getting, so I've got a problem right now because it is ski season and I'm priced higher than I was last year. And I haven't known what to do. So I remove that since you had given me the idea about it. I just, so because of people getting that now. Yeah.
So yeah, this listing, right? It's a 7-bedroom house and it's a very pretty property, right? And so a group of 16 can afford this place more than a group of 4 or 5 can, but a group of 4 will still pay as much as a group of 10 will pay for this place because of its base quality, right? So there's always going to be this intersection of quality and size. And so if you're going to imagine it like a chart, I really don't have any way to really visualize that on the fly, right? Photoshop would have been great maybe for it. Maybe I can do Photoshop.
That's why I should do rooms, because then those 2 people, because, mine's not, just in going along with what you're saying, 2 people aren't going to book that. So the problem I'm going to have is I'm not going to get the passers through, and I get a lot of one-night people passing through, and I won't get that for a place like mine's not like that.
Yeah, so in this argument, let's say a group of 10 will pay $500 a night, 3 months in advance. Well, so will a group of 8 or 7, right? But then 2 months in advance, you drop your rate to $420 per night. A group of 10 will still book that for $420 if they're around. They might have already booked their spots. A group of 8 definitely will. But now a group of 5 or 6 might pay the $420, right? Then a month out, you drop your rate to $340 or $350. Now, all those bigger groups will still pay that much money, but also now a group of 4 or 5 definitely will pay the $340, right? Now, dropping down to $250 might not be worth it because there are no groups of 10. There are no groups of 8. They all booked out. So 3 weeks, 2 weeks in advance, $250, you're going to get 2, 3, 4, 5 people booking that place again. But at $250 for a 4-bedroom house or 5-bedroom house, that might be too cheap, where a group of 1 or 2 will book a private room for $70 each, right? And 5 units at $70 each is now $350. So yeah, there is a point that dropping it from $350 down to $250 doesn't serve you if rooms will get $350 a night, right? So, and that's the concept.
Is it a different type of person though that would book rooms and not have the entire place to themselves?
Yes, and this is good for you. So a person who books a whole 5-bedroom house with a hot tub and a pool in this example for under $200 a night is trouble, right? Usually. But the person who books a room in a place with a pool for $80 a night, they're more respectful because they know that they don't have the whole home to themselves. They are not the troubled person. So luxury properties run the risk of going too cheap, too last minute. And the only way to get those units filled in a way that's not dangerous is to switch to rooms, right? In a lot of cities. Destination areas, maybe not so much. If you're like on an island, especially, like if you're in maybe like Hawaii, some of the islands in Hawaii might be too big, but like in Maui or Florida Keys, or just places that are a little harder to get to, maybe even places like Joshua Tree, or like it's like Smoky Ridge kind of places that are harder to get to, they're not as exposed to last minute party risks because those people just aren't around, right? It's urban cities that tend to have the issue if you charge too cheap, too last minute, like Philadelphia. Even with apartments, if we charge too cheap last minute for an apartment, we have a party risk, even in a small unit. So, but destinations, not so much. So yeah, you're now actually able to bypass your risk of the whole home problem by doing private rooms. If you ever found that like there's a risk of people partying, but also you just make more money. If you have private room available guests, those people book more last minute at a stickier price. So the $70 or $80 a night might fly for a private room, where last minute you might even struggle to get $220 a night for the whole home. There's just not a customer for it last minute.
Other than 2 people, but it's priced for, yeah.
But here's the thing about the consumer psychology for that. You get 2 people searching for a place to stay. They're probably searching for a place for $110 last minute, $100 last minute, right? You find somebody who's out there searching for, like, there's really nobody searching for an entire home. And here's the thing that also happens then too, is when you drop your price too much, it creates a red flag with the shopper. They're like, why is this thing so cheap? That seems like a scam, right? There's no way that a good property could be this cheap. It just doesn't make sense. So at one point you've priced yourself out of being even believable with some properties. And that's why bigger properties have to go into rooms, because the whole home for $200 for this place that could go for $7, people just don't understand how supply, demand, contribution margin, lead time all work. The customer doesn't get the mechanics.
Yeah.
They just don't believe it. They think, oh, this might be a phishing scam.
Well, mine's a townhome that doesn't fluctuate like that. It just fluctuates big on the city. Like I can get 99 in the shoulder, 99 to 125 I'm struggling for in the summer and shoulder season. And then I'm getting 700 plus 25 a night. So I could get, 800, 900 just because I'm at the mouth of the canyon. But nobody cares about the mouth of the canyon when it's not ski season.
Yeah. So in that case, right, with your slow season, what you're doing is you're doing rooms when your competitors are not. And that'll charge less money than them for the product by splitting it up. So somebody's like, I'm not going to pay $200 for your unit because there might be another house that's 180, 190. There's be plenty of competitors, right? But now that you do 80 a night, you'll have 2 people who like, yeah, I'll pay the 80, right? Your product is more appropriate, market appropriate at that point in slow season. Yeah.
Okay, so in that theory, so say that I drop that down where right now is still shoulder season. It's just, and it will be probably until mid-December, until the snow starts to come. People realize we'll have snow. It does this every year. I don't know why they don't realize it sooner, but they don't really start until then. So right now, so say that I go down, I'm at the 99, 125, and I've removed that 25 per night because I still get people who will do it. It's a group of friends that are coming, want to party together downtown and come home. I haven't had parties for a couple of years just because of our series of questions that we ask them, and the people we attract when they see our questions. But so I'm not as worried about that, but I'm worried about missing out on the conference. Somebody coming to work with 8 employees and wants to sit. And so now what do? He wants to come with 8 employees where normally I would get another $100 a night, or actually 125 a night, giving that to him for 125. Because I actually do get a bit of those. That's where I can't seem to get I wish that they would let you charge per person during certain time periods, and there's no way to do that.
And it would be great if they also added flexible cancellation for certain months also. Like they'd be super.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yes.
And,
right.
Eventually they might expand their rule sets feature to expand the type number of things that rule sets actually touch. They can.
Yeah.
They need to expand it.
They're just not willing to for some reason. I think they really don't like you charging extra fees, just like the pet fee.
Well, the pet fee might be not something that they want. Okay, so they might toggling pets allowed seasonally could be interesting, but that one might be a little bit too fringe. But having a different cost structure per guest in different seasons, that makes sense, right? Having different cancellation policies in different seasons, that makes sense. So eventually they'll change that.
No, I'm talking about when they put a pet, if they're booking for 2 weeks per night per pet up to 4 days. So I want $100 for that pet. I don't want 25 for the 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would like to have a
per
day. I'd like them to have a per day pet fee or a percentage upcharge.
Yeah.
Kind of like they have like
within the app.
Could be percentage. That would be the best thing for them to do.
Yeah, because then we have to send them something to resolutions, handhold them going through. It's always, their email's wrong. And I just feel like Airbnb doesn't want you to charge the guests any more than, because they don't make any money on it. But that's a whole different thing.
Well, so they make money on the fees because they still charge
the pet fee.
The pet fee goes into the final price, right?
Well, just for the first night. So you're right, if they allowed it, but for now it goes to resolution. And so if I charge them 75 for pet fee, they pay 75, I get 75. But if it's a guest, then it's 25 for the guest and they add on another $10.
I see what you're saying. You're charging this back end amount of money, which is cool because it's more price efficient for everybody.
Yeah, I know, but if they could add it like a guest per fee, you know how with the guest, you can do it per guest. If they did it per pet per night, like you can do per guest per night, but anyway, that's my bigger concern is just, so it'll take me a while to do room. So maybe what the idea is just to keep kind of doing what I'm doing because it's going to end in a few weeks. And then start working towards making those listings and get, because it's going to take me a while to figure it out and get them launched. And then when the ski season's over in April, then I'm prepared to do rooms for that cheaper amount and price it for 6 or 10 people.
Yeah, the best thing you can do to get that optimization is to have different instances of listings that you turn off and on seasonally. You then, of course, start to lose the volume of reviews. But what we just saw, like this whole guest favorites thing, you could spin up a listing, get 2 5-star reviews and be a guest favorite right away. And that might actually be a big deal. So creating a new listing every 6 months because the number of reviews won't matter. You can still be Superhost because all of your past, if you've maintained Superhost by quality, cool. And new listings, I guess the thing is, if you're Superhost and the listing is a guest favorite, that's probably going to be the perfect combination moving forward. So you recreating a listing every 6 months where you say, okay, we've got this pricing strategy for slow season and we're about to hit slow season. So 3 months in advance, you create this listing that is for slow season, that the calendar opens up in slow season, and you got this ramp up like pricing strategy for slow season. And you do it with a new listing. And then you have this ramp up for peak season listing. And every 6 months, you kind of do this revolving door. You could do that and be fine,
But if somebody wants to book, so if I'm doing that and somebody wants to book for ski season, it's June, are you saying that listing would be down?
Well, no. So what you do, okay, so let's say, okay, so you'll always have your older listing, right?
Okay.
So you kind of have like you stagger like you have 3 listings that'll add, like you'll always have 2 listings in play, but 3 listings in question, right? You have previous season that you block out the calendar for the slow season start, right? And so you have listing 1. As you're coming into slow season, you create listing 2 with enough preparatory time for your slow season strategy, right? That one starts to run. When you create the 3rd listing, which is the new peak season listing, once that's created and you've got the calendar adjusted appropriately, you then unlist the previous peak season listing. So now you have 2 listings in play. Then as you come into slow season next year, you start to create a 3rd listing for slow season. Once it's set up and ready to go, you remove the previous slow season listing, right? So you always have a slow season strategy and a peak season strategy listing in play, but you block the calendars for the dates that they're not relevant for, right?
So the slow season listing would be priced for a cheaper price, but say that it only allows so many. Is that what you're saying? So the slow one says the 2. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with that.
I would probably, if my slow season listing would probably have a less aggressive per person price. It would have a slightly lower base rate, but a much more aggressive long-term discount.
Okay.
Right. And the language of the listing probably would be different too, to try to appeal for longer term stays. My slow season strategy is always to get a longer stay. So I need less total customers to get through slow season.
Well, and maybe my new rule sets I implemented last week, the whole thing I've been learning on your rule sets in hopes of getting longer bookings. So hopefully that would solve it as well. So,
yeah, so you could have a peak season strategy that has no monthly discount. There's no monthly discount.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't have it applied to the.
Yeah, but
well,
then
I do for the weekdays. I do
slow
have
season,
it,
you have a monthly discount. And so in a way, you may not need a new listing where
Yeah.
let's say you have a series of dates for peak season, and you have a peak season strategy for listing one. You know that slow season, you'll need to drop your rates a certain amount of money, change your discount structure, stuff like that. Well, without changing the per guest cost, like you just say to do the $4 or $6 per guest, whatever, without changing that, because that's minor, you then have a rule set that drops all of your prices by 15% baseline and offers a weekly and monthly discount that's attractive on top of it. And you just paint that into your calendar for your slow months, but you do it way in advance, right? Now you don't need to create a new listing to do that.
Well, what do you think of, I used to do this a while ago, and then it kind of, part of what we were doing kind of got complicated, but what if the problem is the pictures are similar and people get confused a bit, and it was just getting kind of hard. But, you know, so I have a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, and we've got the 2 people coming. So what I did is I created a 1-bedroom, and I had these combo locks on them. So they're booking a 1-bedroom, they get there. Wow, this is a big townhome, there's 4 bedrooms, but only 1 you can access, which I guess is a similar thing as rooms, but
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So they would come in there, but then the reason I got frustrated with it is I had my 4-bedroom, and it said this only includes 3 bedrooms, and it said on each of the pictures, this lower level is not included, you know, and unless, you know, in this listing. And so somebody got there, he got upset because he wasn't paying attention. He saw all 4 of them, and it has like a kitchenette and a king bedroom down there, which is not included. It was right on the banner, in everywhere, the whole thing. And so he was upset because then he realized, okay, so then we unlocked it for him. You know, he had to pay a fee. He was upset about it. But I guess I could have had it in my question saying, do you understand this is only for the 2 pictures? Because we did say, have you looked at pictures 1 through 10 and read this stuff? And he said yes, but of course he hadn't. So it kind of got it got complicated. So we kind of discontinued that, but maybe I was newer back then.
Well,
maybe
yeah, so
I
what
could
you did, just so everybody here understands, what you did is you showed photos of something that they were not going to get.
That's right. Yeah.
You should have never showed the photos in the first place.
Yeah, I shouldn't have, except for I was trying to have it marketed for a 4-bedroom. And then it's like, okay, if you just want less people, you only get 3 bedrooms and you get this for another fee type thing. And that was the problem, because I mean, I'm a real estate broker. I know that no one reads. They just kind of go through photos and they literally don't read. So it's like people don't read anymore a lot. So I should have known that.
Yeah. So what you do is you put in the house rules, be like, you'll be given 1 bedroom per person that books, right? If there's only 2 persons in your reservation, what you would do is, okay, this is totally splitting hairs. It's an inefficient strategy, but we're going to see it to the end just for the sake of having this conversation. If I was going to deploy something like that, you would in the messages go, hey, I see you only have 2 guests for your reservation. Which 2 bedrooms from the photos would you like? Because each one has its own code. You give them the codes for the 2 that they would like. And you say, yeah, that's the green door and that's the blue door. Here's the codes for those.
Yeah.
Doors, right? That would be the way to do it. You'd have to say you'll be given 1 bedroom per guest, because you do not need 4 bedrooms for 2 guests. You won't, hypothetically, if you're only 2 people staying, you don't need 4 bedrooms. So we'll let you choose the 2 bedrooms you like, just so that, you know, that way we can control our expenses or whatever. You could do it like that, but that is still highly inefficient. And now that rooms exist, you're able to.
But then we have to wait for them to respond and go back and forth and worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just highly inefficient. So just charge to the moon for the whole home, start to drop the prices for the whole home for lead time, and then switch the rooms. And the rooms listings won't compete for the whole listing on Airbnb's ranking system. And that way you're not creating multiple listings that compete with each other. And that would be a lot of people like,
yeah, that's what I was worried about. That's what happened.
Let's make a listing that's 4. And people who make 2 instances of the same listing, where one's slightly bigger, slightly smaller, they compete and drive both down in search.
Okay. Since, you know, when you do rooms, I've done it before, you know, like I told you, I had locks on each of those doors, and I finally took them off because people would show up and they'd have the whole place and their guests wouldn't have the app. And there's this emergency because the host is off to their conference. The guest is back there. They've forgotten their code. They don't know their code and they're locked out.
Yeah. So
Okay, so,
in
but I
that
guess it
rooms-
wouldn't happen if, yeah.
Yeah, in that rooms webinar I mentioned, we actually talked about the logistics of that. A lot of people who are traveling for rooms tend to be foreign, and they're only using WhatsApp. They don't actually have internet service. So they
Yeah.
show up to your property not knowing how to get in because they didn't do anything appropriately.
Yes.
Preemptively, you need to make sure that everybody who books a private room, you reach out to them before you arrive. You need to have the Airbnb app in your phone, and here's the Wi-Fi information for the listing. In case you need to use our Wi-Fi to access your check-in instructions, here's the Wi-Fi information. But you need this information in your phone because there will be no one there to help you check in. And thus, when people arrive from some other country, they can, if they're at the door and they can't get in, they can connect to your Wi-Fi through the Airbnb app, right?
Oh, yeah. Good point. Yeah. Okay.
So that's one of the solves for rooms, because you do.
But what I'm talking about is if I do the whole home, okay, so somebody's rented all four rooms, all right, the host is gone, the guest is gone, the occupants of those can't get in because the rooms lock, okay, if you have that.
Yeah, so when you do a whole home and room strategy, you need locks that integrate into Wi-Fi.
Okay.
That's going to be
like
a cost. That's going to be a cost
quick set, something like that, because I used to have turbo lock, but you have to be there with Bluetooth.
Or you have a separate code. So a lot of locks can have two codes, right? Or you just do this until you upgrade your locks. You have a separate code that is unified for the whole property. All internal doors have a certain code, and you make the outside door code the same as well for when somebody gets the whole home. When somebody gets private rooms, they're going to get you. So your front door will have two codes.
Oh, that makes total sense. And so then it's the one code for all of them. So everybody knows the code instead of specific.
Yeah. So the whole home, all locks, interior and exterior, might have a code like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Housekeepers have their own code too, which is one that will never change, might be 6, 7, 8, 9. And you'll change 1, 2, 3, 4 out, right? 6, 7, 8, 9 stays the same for housekeepers all the time. You only change it if you ever fire a housekeeper, then you change the housekeeper code. And then each internal door will have, 5555, 4444, 3333, whatever. So that way, if somebody's renting a private room, okay, so you have the
the unique code. Yeah.
You have the 1, 2, 3, 4 for the whole home. You've got a unique front door code, which would be 9999 or whatever, right? And so when somebody rents a private room, they'll get the 9999, and then they'll get the 5555 for door 5, right? When somebody gets a whole home, they'll get the 1, 2, 3, 4, which is for everything.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's how you do it. So now when somebody runs private room, you never have to change the front door unified code. You just change the private room door code for door 5, goes from 5555 to 5556, right? But when somebody has a whole home reservation, the 1, 2, 3, 4 changes to 1, 2, 1, 2 before the next guest arrives. All the codes go to 1, 2, 1, 2, right? And that's how you then. And so that's the reason why I like even locks like Sifely do this, where you have an app in your phone and you can just, all 5 are connected to Wi-Fi and you can manually change them, right? Otherwise you have to have the housekeepers change them manually, like on site. And that's why doing it with Wi-Fi and an app is much more easy.
Or I could do a dry erase board. And if somebody is doing a whole home there, just say door A, B, C, D, the codes are right on there, because they're not going to, just in case they get locked out, then they're like, oh, that's my room.
Well, so actually for the whole home one, if the front door code matches the interior, as long as somebody can get inside the front door, they can get into the units as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the whiteboard may not be necessary for that.
Well, I'm just thinking, unless I get it, if I use my current system is what I was thinking, to just write it down, but then I'd have to make sure they erase it. Okay, well, these are some really good ideas for me to figure out how to integrate that. I might just have to, it's just those locks that do that are so expensive, like the Schlag, that one, it's like $350.
No, Sifely is like $100.
What one is?
I've got a promo, I think, for this thing too. Let me see if it's on my link tree still.
You said Sifely?
Sifely, yeah. Let's see here. Sifely smart locks. Okay. Yeah, let me give it to you. These ones, I used to be able to get them under $100. Let's see what they are now. Yeah, so yeah, these are $79 for door handles. which is nice. And they've got a 15% off coupon code on that too. So 10% off, $10 off. So yeah, you get them for $69.
Wow, yeah, those are nice. And then you don't have to, so that looks like it's a deadbolt at the top that goes with the lower. It's both.
Well, so
Because I can see how tall it is. It looks like it is.
The S1, it does not have a deadbolt attachment to it.
That's okay. That's actually better. I don't want a deadbolt on the bedroom. Yeah.
Yeah, so those you can get for $70.
Oh, that's a deal. That is a really good deal.
Yeah, and they have an app that you can run the app. You can do it remotely. They might even eventually have automations for this. When I first started using them, they did not do automations with channel managers, but it depends on, I can't remember if they use Z-Wave. That this would get too high level for this call, but some tech people who already have like lock integrations, which you don't, but what you'd care about is what type of communication they use, Bluetooth, Z-Wave, blah, 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 blah. And you could get them to be programmed to channel manager with the right type of communication, I'm for sure. But that,
I had a Z-Wave on there and then I took it off when I upgraded to the encodes, but I think I still have a Z-Wave. I was just looking to see if Hospitable did it, but it doesn't seem to, that I can't find it right away. But anyway, it would still be good. It's not that much to manage. We'd have to do something for the individuals. Okay, well, this is really helpful.
Yeah, the fact that they're only $70 is a huge benefit. Now
It is huge. It's a real big difference, especially with that many doors. It would just be a lot.
I know that when we go to like Home Depot to buy like really basic code locks, we still have to pay $40 or $50 for ones that don't have any integrations at all. So
yeah, that doesn't have any of that.
Yeah, so these.
Yeah, I just look. Yeah, it's not here. There are some things that it does list that it automates with it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else?
I think that is everything.
Well, super. It looks like we're down to very few people left in the room. Does anybody else have any questions? Mike, okay, cool. Go for it, Mike, and then Kit after that.
Great. Okay. So just real quick on the lock thing, did you see in the updates that they're going to be now integrating that with...
Yes, it's smart for Airbnb to add that integration for people who do only use Airbnb. And it allows also people who only use Airbnb to maybe never do anybody else, right? And so there are honestly people who only use Airbnb. And for that reason, making this automation is a service to the people, but it's also smart for Airbnb because now if you're saving money by not using a channel manager, by only being on Airbnb, then getting that integration with a channel manager just to be on VRBO or booking.com has now got an extra cost to it. So it could keep people from going to VRBO. I can see why they're doing that. It was a really smart move for a certain customer.
Are you confirmed that, I mean, because I have August locks and they already work with them. There's only certain brands that work with Airbnb. You have to be on the approval list, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm. I haven't researched that yet. So
yeah, no, they've had this for a long time, for at least 5 years pre-COVID, with the August integration where you would roll the codes. The only problem is that I had was the lock fills up entirely full of codes over time, and then it
doesn't delete codes.
So it ceases to work. And in the case of August, which is Yale, which is an expensive lock, they don't have a solution. There's no way to dump the codes out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of so they advised me to stop using the Airbnb integration is what they did. So not a very good customer service, but it is what it is.
Well, I think maybe they maybe have tried to figure out how to fix that bug. And then now they're marketing it because maybe they feel more confident because now that Airbnb, of course, advertised that.
Right.
So it's probably that they feel more confident that they're going to do it right. But the issue that would need to be fixed is that all the code should be temporary for the period of time that they were supposed to exist for, and that's it. You know? Yeah,
it was. So I was talking with the guys that actually write the code for August, like the actual text that write the code, and trying to troubleshoot the problem because my locks were failing. And he said basically it's a whole base code rewrite to fix the problem, and they're not going to do that. He said I can't get approval from higher ups to do that. He was like, I'd like to, he's like, but you're talking of, 3 or 4 month effort to rewrite the entire code base. And I was like, wow. So he probably shouldn't have told me that, but we probably spent 2 or 3 hours on the phone over like the course of a month trying to find the problem. And I was one of the first people, well, I was the first person it ever happened to. And then as we were trying to find the problem, then he started seeing a few other people around the world that were having the same problem. But I had like 200, 300 guests that were in there. There's no way to dilute them out. Anyway, two things. Did you see, I posted an article on in the Facebook page about this corporate company that's going into Florida they bought like a one house that's like $2 million and they're renting it out on Airbnb and they're doing it. I thought it was really interesting.
Like an investment group?
It's almost like they just listen to you. Everything you're talking about, they are doing, which is I thought that was just a good validation of your strategy. I thought you might, that's why I posted it. So I was like, wow, this is exactly what Sean's saying to do. And that's what they're saying. So, and then the third thing is kind of a radar thing on the radar. Did you hear about what's going on in Colorado? Because that's where I'm located, is Colorado.
What's going on?
So the governor is behind it. They're looking at raising the property tax to 30%. So on like on a $1 million house, obviously that's $30,000 per year that you'd be paying in property taxes for an Airbnb.
So anybody who's Airbnb-ing it, or property taxes across the board?
No, just Airbnb, short-term rental.
So if your Airbnb is permitted as a short-term rental, they're going to increase your property tax?
Any short-term, anything less than, I think so they tabled it and they had like 60 people show up. And they tabled it. It was like 2 weeks ago that they heard it, and it actually did quite well with the legislature, and everybody was really happy with it, except for the people that showed up, and they were all hosts. So anything that's less than, I think that one read 180 days, and then they tabled it till January because they're running out of legislative time. It wasn't because they didn't want to do it, so they're going to bring it back up in January.
They're going to have a mess there because people who do arbitrage, who rent from a landlord and then do Airbnb, don't pay the taxes. Right. And so if a landlord has a long-term lease to a tenant, like if you sign a lease with me for a year, he's not in violation. And then I'm operating a short-term rental with a property I don't own, they'd have to actually ban arbitrage and increase property taxes in order to keep it clean. And I don't think they can pull it off. Otherwise, a landlord would just rent to themselves long-term, and then their tenant, their LLC who's operating under a long-term lease would then do arbitrage.
Yeah, all valid points. The limited article that I read about it, because I wasn't there, I didn't know about it, and I probably will go in January if I do find out about it. But what they're talking about doing is basically anything that's listed anywhere, be it VRBO, Airbnb, if they find it listed in Colorado, so they're going to hire at 30%. They can afford to do this. They can afford to pay somebody to go and look at the listings. That's what they're talking about doing. And the governor's all on board with it because he says that it's the reason why we have a housing shortage in Colorado is because Airbnb and
that's obviously not true.
Well, that's what he says, and he's a very popular governor, and it's the way it is. So that's what he's telling. That's his story. He's very, very encouraged that then they finally have to pay their fair share is what he's selling it as, and so what they're proposing was they would hire people to actually go out and look for the short-term rentals, and then. Now, when you bring up the apartments, they're already paying commercial. They're already paying 30% commercial. That would be okay. But anything that's not commercial.
If you're involved in this conversation, let me.
Yes, please.
Yeah, let me give you some data. We're going to use Denver as an example. I'm assuming that Denver might be one of the most heavy hit, right?
Yeah, well, all the ski resorts too, because it's all of Colorado. This is a statewide thing.
Okay, so yeah, let's do a couple examples, but let me show you the data for the Denver argument. There are 393,000 housing units in Denver County, right?
Yep.
There are 4,400 vacation rentals, maybe 5,300 in Cherry Creek, so maybe 10,000 total in the county. Maybe out of 400,000 housing units, there's 10,000, right?
Yeah.
Now let's go to, let's see, how many housing units? So Winter Park, Colorado has 2,700 housing units in Winter Park, right? Okay, hold on. That's actually not enough because that's in 1990. Winter Park has 14,000 housing units, right?
Yep.
According to that data. Thank God we can use the free version of Airbnb. But when arguing for a statewide, you look at where the data actually suits you, and you'll go, yeah, so Denver has 10,000 short-term rentals out of 400,000 housing units. You think that's the problem with the housing shortage? Winter Park has 1,800 which is just over 10% of their housing units
Mhm.
are active, right? So yeah, Winter Park would be the most egregious, right? And you can say, yes, Winter Park, places like Winter Park, 10% of the properties, or just over 10% of the properties, are short-term rentals because people travel with their families. But
Yeah.
that also is highly stimulative for the economy. Those are the
Right.
places where we need houses, because the hotel industry doesn't serve well enough. And if you don't allow Airbnb in Winter Park and make it achievable, they're going to go somewhere else to go ski.
Well,
Right.
and you make a good point, and that's a bright spot, and that you can use again in your, for your radar or knowledge base. Telluride.
This is for you to go if you're going to be part of the
Yeah, I'm going
conversation
to.
there. If you guys need some help, I would tag in Theron Lewis.
Okay.
That's his whole thing is
Okay.
legislation. And
Yep.
what they'll do is they'll bring in housekeepers and stuff like that and say, I'm a housekeeper, I
Yeah.
work in this industry, this is my job, I feed my kids. And that'll be a big argument that you guys will make.
Last note is I'm getting ready to paint a wall here as soon as I hang up with you, and because I was on with Mo and his wife last week,
Nice.
and she was like, I hate to tell you, but you also said you didn't like the color wall, but she actually got the color. She was like, you got to do it. It's a sand color. She's like, you need to go with the sand color. And I was like, yeah, you were kind of say what Sean said too. So
Cool. Well, I'm glad
back,
that one of the coaches on the team had enough vision to say, do exactly this.
Oh, she was pretty. She was like, this is why. He goes, you could see it if you went back and looked, but she gave me exactly why with the other colors and why it has to go, and why it has to be that, why it will go with the other colors and the other things. So yeah, she was very helpful, and she spent some decent time looking it over. So and it was pretty cool because you guys were you've got a good. She's very well aligned with what you're teaching. So it was just way more detailed. So that was really great. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, that is why we try to have coaches with specific things. So we're bringing on an accountant this week. So we've got the guy that does business credit. We're going to bring on an accountant specifically. And then Monique's been doing interior design, but if Monique's wife is doing great for interior design, we'll bring her on too. And then of course, we got Monique and we got Josh for big 7-figure operations and stuff. So
I just want to give you a kudos and say thank you for that, because that was I don't have anything to ask you today because we're good. That was my question, and I'm literally painting it. The paint's already in the bucket right now, so I'll be painting in 10 minutes. So appreciate your help.
Love
and
that.
the last question is again separate from this call, but is the bus? Where's the bus? What's going on with the bus? Did we get a bus update?
The bus is parked. I'm super busy these couple months, so I'm not working on it. I'm not taking it anywhere.
Okay.
But the bus will get some love soon.
There's a bus update, because the bus is cool.
Yeah, I would love to do a bus update once I get some time for it.
I got you. I figured as much, but I thought, well, maybe just throw it, because the bus is that is really cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick when it's done.
That's already that wrap is incredible.
Well, thanks.
Anyway, all right. Well, I'll let you go. Thanks.
All right, Kit, you're next, and then Tawny after that.
Hey, so I applied your discount strategies, and what I'm seeing, I'm looking at the analytics also on Airbnb. When you look at analytics, you can look at the average price per unit, and I'm seeing like $80 to $90 for the 2 bedrooms on an average night, and then for the average night I'm getting like 50, 60, maybe low 70s for the 1 bedroom. Is that kind of typical for a 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom gap
in this season, in like the winter season going into December? Oh, and also with your lead time, that's probably could be your issue. We need to look at your previous data too. Remember, like you had an issue where your prices weren't right and you were only getting last minute bookings, right? And they're 1-day stays. So now what we want to see is we want to see an improvement in your numbers. So now the question is your average length of stay going up?
Yes. So our average length compared to prior months is going up. And even like other than on weekdays, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, I'm getting better lead time.
Okay, cool. You're getting better lead time. You're getting longer length of stay. And your longer length of stay is at the same price or better than you were previously getting?
Yes.
Okay, so you're making progress, right? So the concepts from what we talked about before, which is we look at specific date ranges and see how healthy your booking funnel is at specific date ranges. And so where the step 1 was to get people to pay for 2 or 3 days the same nightly rate that they would pay for 1, right? So that way your cost of cleaning isn't as big of a chunk of your operational cost. And it looks like that's going well, right? So now the question is, how far in advance are people, you said the rate is like 80 or 90 for the 2 bedrooms. How far in advance is that average booking happening now?
So for the two bedrooms that we have, those 2 are almost completely booked out by like early of this month. It's the 1 bedrooms that are lagging, and I'm just trying to get them booked each night.
We're going to hit that next then. So the 2 bedroom is performing well. How far in advance are they booked? Like through the whole month, or you're booked to like early December, booked till mid-December? What, like how heavy are your bookings?
No bookings in December yet, except for one on like Christmas Day. But pretty much all the weekends I would say are booked.
Okay, but the weekdays are not.
The weekdays are not. There's like little gaps of 1 or 2 days.
Okay, so raise your weekend prices by another $10 for the rest of your future then, because your weekends are still getting booked too much compared to your weekdays. And then increase your increase like a 4-day discount to encourage and add that to your weekends. So that way you can encourage weekday and weekend combos for the dates that are available. You're going to still need to gut your weekday prices then to a point that you know that they're going to get booked with, because you've got a few numbers you need to know. What price do I get booked at if I only have weekdays? What prices are the weekdays worth when they're with the weekends? And then what price are my weekends worth? So if you're getting 2-day stays for the weekends at a certain price, raise those up to try to encourage people taking more than just the weekends at a discount, right? So you're gonna have like a week, like so say currently your weekday prices are like 90 and not getting booked by themselves. Well, raise your weekends up and then do a discount where the weekends become a little bit cheaper if they take some weekdays. So now let's say your price for the week, let's say you raise all of your prices up like say $10 and then do it like a 10% discount, then the weekends and the weekdays will both get a little cheaper only if it's 4 days. You're going to build something like that for the future, but you still need to drop the weekdays down on those days. Now for the 1-day properties or the 1-bedroom properties, you probably need to do a split test where you do a really aggressive long-term price. Like you say you're getting $50 or $60 a night right now, last minute, right?
Yes.
Which is no fun. So what you want to do is do a discount where over the next 2 weeks, somebody can get a weekly stay at like $58 a night on the weekdays. And then what are the weekends going for?
The weekends after the discount are probably going into the low hundreds, like 109, 110, 111.
Okay, so yeah, do 58 times 5 is 240 to 290. And then I think that's 58 times, yeah, to 290 plus 100 per night. So you're gonna do a weekly price of like $490 weekly, right? And then you'll do a monthly price of like 1,900 and do that for like 2 of your listings, right? Do that for 2 of your listings and see if one gets booked. And as soon as one gets booked, like raise the price of the other one by another like 5%, and then try to do another strategy where you do a discount further into the future, like for 3 months or for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks out now, where somebody can have the weekdays for $63 a night, because that's still more than you're getting now. $63 a night for a 3-day stay, maybe $67 a night for a 2-day stay, and then $80 for a 1-night stay or whatever. Did you put a $20 like management fee in or anything like that to really offset your incremental cost? Yep.
You said chicken tenders and what was it, me? And then also my question.
I asked you a question. Did you add it, like have you added a management fee, like a small incremental cost fee to your listing?
I did not. Wouldn't that just increase my nightly rate? I'm confused.
Yeah, it will, but you for this other one, you're going to want to do it. So for the other 2, do this weekly, monthly strategy, but the other one, add a $29 cleaning fee. Okay.
Okay.
And then continue to gut your prices on that 3rd listing and see if you still get booked at the same nightly rate, but with the $29 cleaning fee on the back end.
Okay.
What you're doing is you got 2 that are really appealing to weekly, monthly stays. And then the other one, you're going to test to see if you can bleed out a higher nightly rate by having a cleaning fee. Like
Okay.
because here's the thing. If you're showing up in search at $55 a night for this cheap property last minute, and somebody goes to book and then they see a $25 or $29 cleaning fee, will they just say, yeah, fuck it, I'm already here, I'll pay the extra $25, right? You might even want to make it $24 just so it's like, see if you can shoo it in, right? Because what you're looking for is like, people are there, they're clicking, they see these cheap prices, they're booking last minute, and they're all the way down to the part that they're about to pay because they've gone through the work of choosing your listing. Even though you want to do a no cleaning fee strategy, right now it hasn't, like, you have an opportunity to find out if it's not being fruitful for you, right? And by adding a $24 cleaning fee like in there, just sneaking it in, you might find that you still get the same booking metrics, but now you're getting $24 more per booking because at that moment of truth, they're cool with an extra $24 because they don't want to go back to look at more listings. They're like, fuck it, I'm already here.
Right. And you do that for just one listing?
Yeah, do it as a split test.
Okay. Okay.
And
So
what
if we're
what you're looking for, you're looking to test, if I make my monthly 1900 and my weekly 490, does somebody book that, right? If I keep dropping my prices to $50, does somebody still book that if there's a $24 cleaning fee? You want to see what works. Then if you see that the 490 is working per week and the monthly of 1900 is working per week, put a $40 cleaning fee on that one and see if somebody still books at 490 with a $40 cleaning fee. Right? So this is how you're going to split test. Like, you want to find out where people are going to be compliant on your pricing.
okay. So then if on the two that we're gutting the weeklies and monthly to get down, because rent there, for the one bedroom is like 1,500 before utilities, so that would make it probably 1,800 after everything. 1,900 is almost break even if we're gutting it down to there. So
you're trying to survive winter season though too. Also, so the thing though is like some months you're not going to be happy, and right now we're in the free version of Airbnb. So let me just give you context. Right, I'm going to pull this up. Your November, December, and January and February are going to be your worst months, right? So your goal is to just, first off, not lose money in January. And so we're trying to find a strategy that's going to work to get you through till Valentine's Day. Right? You may not be happy. Right now you got something that's not working all the way and we need to diagnose it. We need to fix it. Right? So if you can break even on your property in January by figuring it out now, that's better than having empty days. Right. That's really why we're having this conversation, and it's less optimistic, but you've got a pricing strategy that hasn't seemed to work. Your 2 bedrooms seem to be doing better out the gate, but your 1 bedrooms are not. You also have an option to renegotiate, say, hey guys, my 2 bedrooms are doing really good. The 1 bedroom's not so much. Could I take 2 of my 1 bedrooms and transfer the leases to some 2 bedrooms and up my 2 bedroom inventory count? See if they'll let you do that. Right. They might have extra 2 bedrooms. They'll let you transfer. And you could take 2 1 bedrooms and then jam them into, actually you could take 2 1 bedrooms and jam them into a 2 bedroom, and you'll have a little extra furniture or whatever maybe. But if you've got properties that are performing better, you can always try to renegotiate with the building to change the representation of 1s and 2s that you have. That's another thing you can do. But for now, if your 1 bedrooms are suffering where you're getting, like, because if you don't have a cleaning fee and you're getting $50, $60 per night, you're still soaking a ton of that money into your cleaning cost, right? So you, at the end of a month, even if you got booked every single day for $60 a night with a 2-day average on your weekdays, you're going to have, and let's say it costs you $30 to clean, you're actually only collecting $45, right? Per night, 2 days, $60 a night. So you'd be collecting $45 a night on your weekdays and say like 110 on your weekends, where your cleaning cost again is like 95 per night. You've got 95 times 8 and then 45 times 20. You're probably not going to be happy with that result, right? So we're trying to find out if because 95 times 2 is 190, and then 45 times 4 is like just under 200, right? So 190 plus 200 is still only 390. So if you got a weekly stay at 490, you're still coming out ahead with that. So we're looking to make small incremental improvements. The biggest mistake that you can make here is going, this isn't working, let me swing for the fence on what I think my needs are, and you could miss it entirely. right? So because you have multiple listings, we can split test a strategy, which is we know we can get 50 or 60 bucks a night. Now, if I sneak in a $24 cleaning fee, can I sneak that? With the other listing, I know I can get 50, 60 bucks a night and I can get XYZ on the weekends. So let me try to give a weekly price that is that good and get a weekly stay. So I don't have to have 4 housekeepings a week on that property. So one strategy is to lower the housekeeping frequency with the same ring. And the other one is to try to sneak a cleaning fee in to get a higher ring, right? So you're going to go in both directions and see which one gives you less resistance.
Okay. Okay. Now, do you mind looking at my listing and seeing, because I've never really had much of a long-term stay, and I don't know if there's maybe certain things I'm doing in the listing that I don't have that's causing people to not want to stay long-term, other than like pricing.
Yeah.
Do you want me to send it, or do you want to try to search for it?
Yeah, throw it in the chat. Okay, so let's see here. Have you tested different hero photos for your 1-bedroom?
But no, we've stuck with the pool through the kind of like late summer.
Well, in the winter, that's not going to work.
Like, switch it to barbecue.
Yeah, who wants to swim in a pool when it's cold outside, right?
Right.
Okay. You could probably photograph things slightly differently, like the way you laid out the tees and stuff, but that's not a big deal. The gym would probably be a good one to have. Okay, so here's one thing that actually I think you need to change. You see how all these are now like in this weird kind of like layout where it's like bedroom, and here's the thing, your dining area is not shared. See that?
Okay. Okay.
The gym is shared because that's with the property. The pool is shared because of stuff like that. What I would do is I would take away marking weather weather photos are in the living room, bedroom, etc. I'd take that away so you can control your photo reel. The very first photo I think could be of the gym. If you have a washer and dryer, you want to have a photo of the washer and dryer. Does this property have a washer and dryer?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So if you could have the gym and the washer and dryer in as one of the 2 of the first 5 photos, I think that'd be super important here up top. The pool can start to get pushed down because it's the winter, so you push that down. As far as your best photo for the winter season, it might still just be your living room shot. Your living room shot might be the best one. And I would retake the kitchen medium shot and the coffee station shot and stuff like that to try to make them look more special. Because like what I would try to do is with your kitchen medium shot, you've got like this shot here. I'd try to get that into the same shot as the rest of the stove, like this shot, to try to make it look more full, like and take the shot more perpendicular. But these, of course, are like the little things that just make the composition better. So yeah, I think change your main photo to your living room shot for now. Try to make sure that it's easy to see that you got like Disney Plus on the screen. You can even Photoshop Disney Plus onto the screen if you wanted to, if you didn't want to take any photo. Also, try to get the Wi-Fi speed as a shot and get a photo of the Wi-Fi speed, get Disney Plus on the screen, move the pool to the back, move the gym and the washer and dryer to the front, because those are the amenities that people care about for longer stays is gym and washer and dryer and the kitchen. Those are going to be the 3 for longer stays.
I was on the call yesterday, I think, with the design coach, and she suggested putting, I think, more like bigger pictures over the bed, right, in the dining room area. But she actually suggested going ahead and hire a professional photographer. So if this was kind of like, hey, I'm on a budget, is it better to hire a photographer or get more decorative pillows or get more mirrors or plants or throw blankets?
If you're going to spend money on filling the place out instead of on a professional photographer, because at your price point, you don't need professional photography at a price point that's like $150 a night or less. You need good photography, but not a professional photographer. And somebody's going to charge you $150 to photo the place. You could actually spend that $150 on decor for your bedroom and make the bedroom look more attractive. Like for $150, you could go probably you can get a throw blanket, you can get a couple colored pillows and a stand-up mirror. And here's the thing too, a professional photographer would charge you per room. And if all your rooms are identical, you'd only need to do one. You could take those knickknacks and actually use them as props throughout the space. So you can move the pillows and the throw blanket to the couch, take your living room photos, take the throw blankets and pillows and stuff to the bedroom, retake your photos so that each photo looks more full with the same stuff.
And are the stock photos for the gym? She said it was too blurry and had a photographer retake it. Should I somehow get a better photo of those?
Yeah, if you can. Like the next time you're in Dallas, next time you're in Houston, if you're ever down there, yeah, go in and take photos on your own. Yeah. Otherwise, if you have somebody local who can just go and bop in and take the photo. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now I have one unit that's a downstairs unit. Everything else is upstairs. Is it like, would I be allowed to do stuff to make it ADA approved, or don't mess with that?
Well, actually, I think you're already level 1 ADA. If I take a look at this photo, you've got the ramp up here. And as long as you have a no step entrance into the front door, then yeah, you're good.
Okay, so I don't have to put the handles in the bathtub myself?
Oh, no. So that'd be like level 2, level 3 ADA. You could talk to the building about that. Be like, hey, I would like to make my first floor unit more disabled friendly, and I want to make these couple of changes. But the handicap parking space adjacent to the ramps and then having no step access to the front door is all you need to be technically ADA level 1.
And then the other question I had was, I've had a couple guests who left me like 4-point reviews. And it was just because like you didn't have a pizza pan, or you need like baking sheets, or, you know, get gloves for the kitchen, like little stuff like that. Should I go ahead and get those to try to get longer stays, or is that like, hey, we don't carry that?
Yeah, if you're gonna buy that stuff, you're gonna want to show it in the photo. So yeah, you get like if you get like a cookie sheet, just say you get a round pizza pan and you get a rectangular baking sheet, you get a silicone mitt and a placemat, and you buy a couple extra things, you are looking at a $40 or $50 investment per kitchen. But then when you go and do that, when you do that kitchen shot, you're gonna include all that stuff in your kitchen shot, and yes, that will create conversion.
Okay. Okay. And then for the ones who stay longer, if they said, hey, I need more, do you provide extra toilet paper for people like that? Or do you just say this is what you start with and you cover the rest?
Yeah. So when somebody stays longer, like a weekly stay or longer, like you wouldn't typically give people extra stuff. And when they say something like, well, those supplies are reflected in the discount we give you for staying more than a week. This is a home. You know, you remind them this is a home. We get you started off, but for longer stays where you will consume any significant number of consumables of toiletry, you would be purchasing your own restock. So you could even put that in your house rules. You say for stays a week or longer, you will be doing your own grocery shopping for consumables, including toilet paper.
Okay, perfect. And then earlier when you were talking about doing the discounts and stuff, so I get like nervous, I get antsy. So I just watch the price and then I'll do the discount. At what point do you say, okay, that discount is not aggressive enough, I'm going to bump it by another 2%? How long do you wait?
So I want you to keep a journal to fix this, right? And there's going to be a number, and we call it the LDA, your lowest documented attempt. And I want you to maybe even use a spreadsheet for this. You're going to have lowest documented attempt at certain markers. So actually, this is really high level. I'm going to pause recording. So then in summary, we want to do a risk assessment. If we can get 100% occupied at $100 more than 28 days out, we probably can get 50% occupied at 120. We probably can get 25% occupied at 124, 140, something. We want to hit that mark where we get the highest combination of occupancy and revenue. And then at that 28-day mark, we start to drop our prices. And then we want to know between 20 days and 30 days, like, can we get another 20 or 30% occupancy at an optimal price, right? If in a perfect world, probably we get $140 per night on a chunk of our prices, and then we get $100 per night on the rest of them, if we could identify that, and we'd be 100% booked 20 days out, because at 20 days, we start to drop it. But the trade-off we're making here is we're raising our rates to try to get good bookings more than 20 days in the future. And any of those days that we miss, we then have to start dropping our prices, which leaves us 5 days out with maybe a $60 or $70 price because we failed to hit that mark on that day, right? Anytime we drop our prices inside of 14 days, we've actually failed to do our job. Our pricing strategy is built for more than 14 days in advance in a perfect world, right? We want to hit 100% occupancy 14 days lead time or better. Anything that we're doing inside of 14 days is actually damage mitigation. So if you can't get booked 14 days out, your prices are all wrong. right? Unless you're in a certain market that is just known for its last minute travel, but then that marker maybe becomes 5 days out. If you're not booked 5 days out in a hyper last minute market, you've done it all wrong. So we want to use that journaling system. I told you, I want you to keep a journal on this, and I want you to measure your watermarks over time. And I want you to make these adjustments over time. So that way you isolate one area of your calendar, go, I'm not getting any bookings at this window of time. Let me adjust that part of my calendar. And so now your funnel is based on windows of lead time, and you're optimizing every single window of lead time. If you're getting 80% of your bookings inside of 7 days, then you've completely failed, because you shouldn't only be getting 20% of your occupancy 7 days or more out, right? You want to look for the weak points, and you want to do them in chunks. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
So I want you to look at where you're getting no bookings. Is it a month out? If you're not getting any bookings 2 months out, you're going to drop your prices for the 2 months out mark until you start to get some action for the month to 2 months out. And everything cascades from there.
Okay, so right now, if I'm not getting much bookings in December at all, that means it's still priced too high and I need to start gutting them quicker.
Exactly. And with that said, we always want to keep our eyes on our instruments to understand the context, right? This is where it starts to become complex, right? We can go and look at AirDNA's free version here, and we go, yeah, November, December, January. We're actually looking at South Haven, Mississippi now, so this is not the same. It looks like their August is one of their worst, and then their January is the second worst. But in your case, November, December, January, February are your bad 4 months, and everything comes up in your case, right? So we want to take a look at the context of the market, and we want to find out, what months are bad months, so that way we know, are we dropping our price into slow season as a preemptive strategy, or are we dropping price in peak season because we realize it's not as strong as we think it is, and we're not priced for peak? Because when you change your prices for peak season, you're still holding your prices stronger, more last minute, because peak season, there should be more last minute demand as everyone else gets booked. You're left over, you're strong. But in slow season, you don't want to show up in slow season last minute without bookings. So right now, yes, your thing is I want to get booked. I want to get booked far in advance in December and January. But the thing is too, you don't want to compromise your calendar with a 2-day stay and not get a month-long booking. Your optimal would be a month-long booking in January. That'd be your optimal. So right now, you should be offering a really sick monthly stay for December, January to clear your books, right? And then you do have an attractive price for a weekly stay as well, if that's what you can get, but you really don't want to be dropping your rates for a 2-day stay yet. And even though it's slow season, you don't want to start getting a two-day stays and then ruin your chance to get a monthly booking, right? You really want to prioritize 3 months in advance. You want your December, January to look really attractive for a monthly stay. Now, as we get into the end of November, though, the first 2 weeks of December, you are actually to start wheeling and dealing the first 2 weeks of December already, to allow for a really good 3-day stay, right? You're still hoping to get a monthly stay or a weekly stay, but you're going to start out opening up a really aggressive 3-day price in slow season, a month out.
Okay. And then final question. I had a review that popped up, and it was for, they just said the kitchen wasn't as complete as they wanted, but they did violate one of our house policies. They brought a pet. And I called Airbnb and I said, hey, I'd like to get this review looked at to get removed because they violated our policy. Our cleaner caught it. But then the guy on the phone was basically like, well, the review looks relevant and the rules have changed where even if the guest violates your house manual, your policies, that's not grounds to remove the review. Is that a new thing?
It would be. So you'd say, hey, can you send me that policy? And if you've changed your policies, you have to disclose it. Can you point me to, if you either send me a copy of it, can you point me to the paragraph and sub number of that policy? Show me that policy. And so that's what I wowould do in that case. Now, here's the thing too. Yeah. So they've probably changed what they mean by retaliation, because that's actually smart. If they did it the right way. What it's going to be is if somebody violated your house rules, that is motive for retaliation. And if the review smells at all like retaliation and they have motive, you'd be able to remove it. But if somebody's leaving a level-headed review that is relevant, that doesn't seem tied to the fact that they're upset about a ruling that was made, right, for retaliation, then they're not going to remove it. If somebody violated your house rules and you're like, you have to pay for the pet, and they got into an argument with you, and then things chilled out, and when they left the review, like, hey, great place is great. You know, the warning, like, this pet place has no pets allowed. Otherwise, cool. That, and you know, the kitchen didn't have enough stuff in it. If they come off as level-headed in that review, it would be really hard to get that review removed because everything was relevant. Now you could say, when they say, hey, heads up, no pets allowed, you could say, well, hey, that's not relevant because our house rules and our terms and conditions are subject to change. We at times will allow pets potentially, and this review will conflict with that. And if their reservation was, if they booked during the time that pets were not allowed, that was already in the rules, so that would not be relevant. You could then get that one removed contextually for relevance. But if they're not saying anything that challenges relevance, then yeah. And if they're not acting in a way that seems retaliatory, then yeah, I don't think you really would have a good shot of removing that anyway.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Tawny, next up. Floor's yours.
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Going really well, thanks.
Oh, good. So is there a way for me to share my screen, or I guess I could post it in the chat, but there are 3 reviews that I really, really desperately need some help on. Cool. Getting removed or what have you, because, you know, when they send you that warning that says your listing needs attention or it will be suspended or deactivated, I've gotten 2 of those. 2 on different properties, but they were from guests that were just wild.
Yes, so throw the listings in the chat, and I'll scroll down my reviews. And
okay, let's see.
So now tell me,
I have it in a Word.
Did any of them have any? Were you in conflict with any of these guests at any time?
Yes. I'm gonna put these in the chat only because they're for different listings, and is it gonna let me put that in the chat?
Just share the listings, and I can scroll down on the listings and see the reviews of the listings.
Okay, let me get those listings pulled up.
Yeah, so if there was a conflict, you could try to argue that there's retaliation based on a ruling and they didn't like that. And you would say, as you see, all of our other reviews are positive. This guest, we had a conflict or disagreement where we held a policy and they were not happy. This review is highly likely to be retaliation, as you can see in this. And giving the weight of our reputation, you could say that giving the weight of our reputation and the absence of this guest's positive reviews, like if they don't have any positive reviews, they're given the weight of our reputation and the absence of any reputation of this guest, it is highly likely that this is retaliatory, and this person and this person's review should be removed, you know, for the context of the disagreement they had with us and their lack of satisfaction with the ruling that we made, and you'd have to also prove that you were in the right for the ruling that you made, though. So if you did something right, then still a guest favorite, though. Good job. There isn't enough space, that one.
Let me pull back up my document because there have been several.
Hazel? No. Leanne?
Yeah, Leanne Cassone is one of them, yes.
Okay, there's a lot of claims here that when you attack a review for accuracy, relevance, retaliation, you attack every individual sentence as an individual point.
Okay.
There isn't enough space. This review is false. This place disclosed the amount of space that it has, right? Something like that. The home was not as pictured. This is false. Not a single other person has ever stated that the home's photos were misleading, and the photos have not been recently changed. There was maintenance people outside smoking when we arrived.
That was true. That was something that was true, but they arrived 15 minutes early, but they were still there.
Yep. So this is not relevant. The person arrived before they were allowed to, before their check-in window, and the maintenance people would not have been there if the guest checked in at the appropriate time, right? So this is not relevant. The house was not clean, had a noticeable odor. That's another part that like, if that house was clean, it's like, here are photos. We have photo proof that the house was clean.
We do, and we have we actually have them take videos and photos after each clean.
Okay. Now you could also attack the safety issues. The whole floors were dirty, baby's feet were black. So also the host blamed us for tracking in dirt, which might have actually been true. Otherwise, if you didn't actually blame them, the fact that they use the word blame, you could say this, we did not blame the guest. That expresses a type of an absence of goodwill in the way that we run our business. We do not blame guests for stuff, and this is damaging to our reputation, or this is defaming. So the word blame could be where you could attack it. You see how many things I've already gotten within like the first 3 sentences?
Yes, I'm going to take notes as fast as possible.
Well, so the moral of the story is you attack the legitimacy and accuracy and the syntax of every single sentence, like an attorney would going into a court case. There isn't enough space. Let's attack the accuracy of that or the relevance of that. The home was not as pictured. Let's attack the accuracy of that, right? And so the home not being as pictured, you state the photos have not been changed, and all of the guests prior have not said that the photos are not accurate, right? So we have not changed photos, and the majority has believed that the home is as pictured. Is either true or it's not. And if it was not, and if it's true that the home is not as pictured, previous guests would have said so, because the photos have not been changed. You can see that in your change log. Maintenance people outside when we arrived, that is not relevant because they checked in they arrived too early. Again, so every single sentence you could say, I refute this one sentence, and this is why I refute it. And when you go and you file against the guest to get this removed, you hit them with a bullet point list of absolutely every single reason why this review is inaccurate.
Okay, every reason. Okay, perfect. And then they said that the ceiling fans were covered in dust, which I don't really care about that. I did not have a video zoomed in on the fan, so I can't, say that they weren't. Spider webs everywhere, rust and mold in the bathrooms. This is a brand new remodel, and I went there the day after this review was posted and took pictures myself. There was no mold, and what they're saying was rust is that home is out in the country, and so there is like iron in the well water, which is disclosed in our listing in our house rules. And so what they're seeing is like that iron color. It's not rust, but it is like an iron color around like the like where the water would drain down into. We do use CLR on it. We do use a pumice stone, but
So
sometimes
I think
it just
in summary, by the way, too, let's imagine you're talking to me like I'm Airbnb. You're already over explaining.
okay.
Okay, so all you do is like you want to treat it with very dry language. This line is false. There is no mold. Here's photo proof that there's not mold. Also, previous guests and guests after have not reported mold, right? And then you, again, the blame, they said the word blame, and they said the rude response from the host. When I asked for a price adjustment, there's proof of retaliation. They even said in their review, the rude response from the host when I asked for a price adjustment, you probably did not give them the price adjustment that they asked for, correct?
Correct.
So there is already proof that the review is retaliation.
See, and I used that too. I told because I already have tried to have this review, and they just said there wasn't enough information in the review that was retaliatory.
So now you now need to go back and open an appeal, because they might not take your consideration against it. I need to open an appeal for this review removal. I need to have this looked at a second time based on new information.
Okay, I need to open an appeal.
So you're going to attack their claims that there's claims that disparage you and say that you are a mean person, that you were blaming and that you were rude. Those are that's defamation. They're defamatory, and there's a high standard of which Airbnb has to hold you to even allow them to say to say defaming things about you in a review. Right? So you can attack it there. You can say the use of language like blame and rude are emotionally charged language that is retaliatory to their confession in their review, which is that they wanted money that I did not give them. And then you attack the accuracy or relevancy based on the nature of your listing. If your listing says how many square feet it is, and they say and they said there wasn't enough space.
Correct.
That's already like, we disclosed how many square feet per square foot the home is. The person knowingly booked a place that was exactly this many square feet. They cannot say there was not enough space. They intentionally booked a space with an exact amount of square feet. So this is the nature of which you procedurally attack their claims.
Okay.
But most people, where they get this wrong is they attack they attack what they think to be their best point, and they just drive their best point.
Okay. Let me pull up the other listing and see if I can find it. That was linked to Joseph. Okay, that was this basement apartment.
Okay, so share, you said. Oh, that's right. There's a Joseph for 1 star.
Correct.
Had to leave the second night at midnight for an alternative look because what was the loudness?
So the first night, so he was staying in the basement apartment, and in the we told him that there was a wedding upstairs, that there could be some potential for noise, but they did have to follow our quiet hours. We told him that at booking. So the first night he said that he didn't say anything to me about it at all. He just kind of let it go. Well, the second night they ended up having to leave because obviously it was too loud. And so
did you file a claim for against the previous guest, loss of income? Air cover has loss of income.
I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah. So when a guest causes you to lose a reservation, they have to pay you for that.
Oh.
So in this case, one of your guests caused you to lose a different reservation. You would actually file a claim for loss of income with Airbnb. Say this guest violated house rules and damaged another guest reservation, and I had to give the guest a refund. They left, right? Then you could state that the review, you would then state, this is really a stretch, but I'd still try to pull it off. Because you filed that air cover claim and then it got approved, you then go back to this review and say, hey, Airbnb, this review is damaging against me, but was the behavior of another Airbnb guest that you guys failed to properly screen. You put a guest in one of my properties that violated my house rules, right? And we operate under assurances that you give me guests that are going to follow the rules of the platform. One of your guests violated the rules of the platform and caused damage to another guest. This 1-star review should not be against me. It should be against that guest. So you need to remove this review for relevance because the review is about the wrong person. This was not me that violated this person's stay and caused this damage. It was this other guest, right? That's how you would actually make this claim legally.
Okay.
It's a stretch, right? But then you could even put in arbitration to have this review removed. You should always do your arbitration in batches. It costs you $200 to file arbitration one time.
Where's that at? How do I do that?
Oh, that's a whole nother long conversation, but I've got a free video you can start with on you didn't see my podcast with the attorney that does arbitration?
No.
Oh man, some of my best stuff doesn't ever get any airtime.
Where's that at?
It's on YouTube.
Okay, YouTube.
I'm just gonna drop the link in the chat for all of you.
Okay, perfect.
There's not a lot of people left on this call, but so I did a workshop on arbitration with this attorney as well. So every time Airbnb's taken money from you, given a guest a refund that they shouldn't have gotten, stuff like that, you can take each individual case and file arbitration claim with Airbnb. You can bundle them all together into one large arbitration document. You'll have to pay $200 once for the arbitration claim. And if you have a bunch of stuff that's going to get won in there, you can slide stuff like this in, where this 1-star review that you want to have removed can get slid in there. And so then you'll state, I want this review removed because of everything I just said. Like, it was another guest that harmed this person, and this review should be about that other guest, right? You can slide that in there. If Airbnb does, and then you can make a claim that if they don't, you're suffering XYZ amount of damages for their failure to do so, and you can associate a cost. If Airbnb doesn't remove this review, it's actually harming my company. It's, you can argue like a punitive damages for it. So you can even say, I want Airbnb to remove it, and I want them to pay me this much money for every single month that it's not been removed. And the longer the case goes, the more money you seek. And then an arbitration person might actually pay you that. They might disagree and pay you something else. But that's the way that I would probably make that claim. So just, that 1-star probably can get removed. It can get removed under the case that you file the appropriate air cover claim. And then the other guest is found to be at fault for a violation of your house rules. You said Serena is the name of the other person?
I'm not sure which review you're actually talking about. Which listing are you on now?
Well, so the one that has Joseph with the 1-star was the second one you gave me. That's the new one you put in the chat, right?
Yes, that would have been the Joseph, and then there's going to be one more
in the same listing.
No, it's a different listing, and it's a retaliatory thing too, but I'm getting that listing pulled up for you.
Okay. Let's see here, we got. So this is the upper level?
This is a different home. This home, I live in the basement of this home.
I see a Tiffany one for 1-star.
Yep.
Okay. House itself was nice, but issues arose. Tawny's delusions. So delusions is defamatory. Following my attempts to communicate my concerns, preventing me from leaving a negative review, we were significantly delayed in our check-in. Tawny's excuses, including sharing a picture of her post-surgery bloody breast nudes. Did you send her a photo of your, was it technically nude?
No, it was not nude, and I had heart surgery, and so I had my hands over my boobs, but you could see all my staples and stitches and blood.
So again, you say there was no nudity in any photo that was sent to her. So, by the way, you can learn from this. Don't ever send somebody something like that. Yeah. Here's the thin line we walk. We want to be hosts. We want to be personal, but your problems are not their problems. It only works one way. Their problems are your problems, not vice versa. So you can have this be removed for multiple attempts of defamation. Tawny's delusions claims that you sent her a nude, which you did not send her nudes. So they were not happy with the romance package. Was the romance package free?
No, so they had to pay $300 for the romance package. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can. You're a little far, but it still works.
Okay, sorry. They had to pay $300 for the romance package. It came with flowers, chocolates, balloons, candles.
The reason why I'm asking is if it was free, you probably could get away with saying that that this was an unreasonably terrible review. But the fact that they paid $300 for it, you probably should look at the quality of this product.
I did. The quality was amazing. So they were up. So here's how the whole situation kind of started. I had heart surgery. The day after my heart surgery, I had forgotten, it had totally slipped my mind about this romance package. So I had to stall them for 30 minutes. I paid for them to go get dinner so that I could go upstairs and get it. I'd already gotten the supplies. And so I had to stall them for 30 minutes. Well, because I stalled them for 30 minutes, I went ahead and went above and beyond. I also gave them the bathtub package setup, which had roses and candles and bath bombs. And I also set them up a charcuterie board. So both of those services together were an extra $300 in services that I gave to them. I also have a text message from her that said, "This is absolutely amazing. I love what you did for us." And I sent that to Airbnb as well. So
yeah, so the thing though is now you have conflicting statements from her. She said this was amazing, right? And then she says that it wasn't amazing in her review, right? And so what you have is you have this, it's like, man, this is all kind of sound like a lot like law, like you attack the character of a witness, right? So you could say this woman lied in her review because we have private communication stating something else. She stated multiple things that are defaming to you here, right? She said that you chose manipulation and lies, that you're delusional, and that you sent her nudes, right? All three of those, and that you're dismissive and defensive. All these are character attacks that are highly damaging, and she'd have to prove that you're dismissive, defensive, manipulative, a liar, and delusional. How is she going to prove all that, right? So each line by line, you're going to say she's defamed my character in this review, damaging to me as a host to provide my service, calling me delusional. She's defamed my character, calling me manipulative. She's defaming my character by saying that I'm lying. And you just bullet point each individual one. Don't ever package it all into one claim or one point. You really want to bullet point this out, just like I told you with your very first review. But she's got tons of the same stuff in here that the other one was, right? She's got 5 character attacks on you. She's also claiming that, there's a screaming child and male friend in the basement, but the person wasn't a male friend, right? It was probably a customer.
correct.
Okay, cool. There's no male friend on the premise. You don't even have to say, right? I do not have any friends on the property. Anybody who is at that property or an adjacent property would have been another Airbnb guest. So that is by definition false, right? You really hit it. If it's 2% off base, it's 100% off base, right? You attack. It has to be 100% correct. Every claim she makes has to be 100% correct, and it has to be relevant. And it cannot be charged, like emotionally charged in the spirit of retaliation. And so you can attack the relevance of some things. You can absolutely attack her accuracy on things. Her 5 different statements, there's 5 separate words that she used that were character attacks against you. That you can attack all of those, right? And have those removed. And then everything that she stated is everything she stated regarding to the romance package is opposite of what she sent you in private communication. And that conflict also with her claim that she only got a partial refund for her stay, where she mentioned the refund amount in her review. You can then say she mentioned a refund amount that she got from Airbnb. Her communication was contradictory, showing that this is a retaliatory review because she changed her stance on something after the fact, only after she only received a partial refund, right? So you can then finalize, say, and all of this, in addition to all of the above, you then state that she contradicted herself and she mentioned a review and she mentioned a refund amount, showing that her change in tone is a lie, like that contradicts her private communication because she's retaliating, because she's not happy with the refund amount that she got. But that has to be, again, a separate point from the 5 character attacks and then the multiple times where she said something inaccurate.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so the first listing I sent you, it was the house that had the aerial view of the hot tub.
Mm-hmm.
Can we take a look at pricing on that one, because it is on the struggle bus. I did everything you asked about not charging except for after like 12 guests. I mean, move the photos around.
Let's look at your seasonality too, because remember, anything that you've recently done in a time that is not meant to get results. Westminster, no. Again, we're at Madison, North Carolina. I put South Carolina. So 1 second. Madison, North Carolina. And guys, we're just always just using the free version of AirDNA just for context. We don't need a lot of data here. So, okay, November should do better than some months. Like, I mean, August, September, October should be great for you. And then November.
Can you share your screen really quick? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see what you're seeing.
Yeah, when you go to the free version of AirDNA, you'll see this stuff, right? So October should have been your best month. August, September, March, and April, also good. November should be really strong, and then December pretty strong. January, February gets weak, and then July is weak for you. Like, those are your weak months. So with that said, anything that you're doing to get an entire stay should be working for December right now, and should be working for Thanksgiving right now. You should be getting those. Anything last minute right now could still be really tough because of where you are, because you're kind of like secluded-ish, right? Madison's not exactly nearby anything. And your first photo kind of shows that. You're showing that you're secluded, which is important. Now, man, these last minute prices can really be tough, huh? So yeah, you are complete. Hold on. Wait, okay, so yeah, $267, your $250 cleaning fee. Again, do you have some of your cleaning fee and a management fee?
No, I don't.
Okay. What you're gonna have an issue here is, you see how your cleaning fee is as much as your nightly rate?
Yeah.
That could cause somebody to bounce, right?
So I should up my nightly rate and lower my cleaning rate.
Oh, actually, no. So take part of your cleaning fee, maybe take like $80 of it or $90 of it, and then move it to the management fee. So make your cleaning fee like $160 and make your management fee $90. So what that'll do is, now when this shows up, you'll see the same final price, which is $590, but this will say $357 and then $160 cleaning fee with the same total price of $590.
Okay.
And then so since it's still a one-time fee, if somebody booked for 2 days, they're still going to see the same final price here of $721, but it'd be $160 on the cleaning fee, and then it'd be $472 on the total price.
Okay.
So that's one thing that you can do, because when you get to these lower price points, that heavy cleaning fee compared to the nightly rate will increase the percentage of times that people will bounce.
Okay.
You want to be mindful of the cleaning fee versus base fee percentage. You really don't want your cleaning fee to ever be more than 30%, maybe probably even more than 25% of the actual rate here. So that's one thing to change. You're looking at last minute, like it's pretty impossible for you to get a booking last minute for any size, right? So let's see here. Yeah, so at 6, at 10, you start to increase prices at 12 persons, right? Yep, $40 per person after 12 is what that looks like, I think. Yeah, so I think 40 is still a little steep, right? Not that it matters for tonight, tomorrow. You're not going to get any reservations for 16 people tonight or tomorrow. That's not going to matter. I think you should lower that to 20, 22, 25 max per person. So you only get like a $100 swing, right? That, and then you increase your base rate, where now instead of it going up $160, it'll only go up 100. You're doing much better with this. But now in the future here, your base rate could be $30 per night more with only a 25 per person increase, right? But you increase your base rates by $30 across the board, and then it'll only swing $100 based on group size. Okay. Your last minute pricing probably needs to get way more aggressive. You saw what I just did with the whole like batching dates into a funnel on Google Drive?
Yes.
Okay. You want to keep a journal and do the same thing. Because now the question is like, how far in advance of this November booking book?
Last week, no, this week, like 4 days ago.
Okay, so that's 14 days in the future, which means you're not getting any bookings beyond 48 or 28 days out?
No.
Okay, so gut all of your prices for anything more than 28 days out by about $150 a night, all of them. You might be missing the mark, like just heavy missing the mark. Oh, that's gross. So what is your base rate typically for a weekday?
For the weekdays, it's about 125. For the weekends, it's normally around 300, 250, 300. Sometimes it can go up to 800
rates go up $40 per person
after 10 or 12.
Okay, actually, I think we're actually gonna make this more like we're gonna actually do away with this extra person cost. Really, drop that down to like $7 per person. Okay. And up your base rate by $125. Okay, so because you've had this big swinging rate, it's going to be really hard to explain exactly what you need to know. But I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to give you an example of something here. Okay, your problem is at 28 days plus, right? What's your weekday price base? 150?
120, 125 ish, 150 ish.
I don't think it was really that cheap. Let's go to, okay, so your March is 175.
Okay.
And then your weekends are 650. Okay. So your weekdays are not getting booked at 175 and your weekends are not getting booked at 650 for anybody. Right? Anybody with a group of, actually, let's do like a group less than 12, right? Now your group of 16 is going to be equal this plus 160, right? And your group equal this plus 160. So these are the prices you're failing at, but you're failing twice, right? In two separate scenarios. You got groups under 12 and groups of 16, and neither group is paying the price you want them to pay, right? And you're getting no bookings like more than 28 days out. So what we can do is we can increase this price and change this. So now, instead of it being a $160 swing, it's going to be a $28 swing because we're only doing $7 per person over 12, right? It's going to be very minor. But now we increase this price by, say, $125. So that's going to actually be 300. And this is going to be 775. We got way more continuity between the bottom and top of your price range now. And we can start saying, hypothetically, these numbers are failing. These are really the numbers that are failing more than 28 days out, because the people you could appeal most to are groups larger than 12. And these prices are the prices you've actually been failing at, right? Your prices for groups under 12 really should only be relevant inside of 45 days, right?
Okay.
So now, since these prices are failing, we're going to drop these prices. You need to be less than this for groups of 16 in the future, right? So let's make it so that way your weekdays for groups of 16 are 240. And make it where your group prices for groups of 16 are actually like more like 600. So in order to pull this off, you're going to look at maybe a 575 base rate, and you're going to be looking at a 210 base rate with the $7 incremental fee. And this is your price for more than 28 days out. Okay. Now the goal is to get bookings. Your target occupancy at the 28-day mark, you want to get 40% of your bookings or better at these prices. You want to get 40% of your bookings at these prices and then drop your prices inside of 28 days for whatever's getting missed. And if you can't get 40% at these prices, then what do we do for more than 28 days out? We drop them again.
Okay.
So your plan A will be these prices. But if you fail to get 40%, right? If the answer to that is no, then based on what percentage you actually do get, you're going to drop these even more. And if you got 0% still for these prices, that's really grim, and you drop your prices a lot. But let's imagine that's not going to be the case. Let's say you get 25% of bookings at this price point. That's close. So what we're going to do is we probably drop these maybe another, like 8%, 6 to 8%. If you're getting 25% of your occupancy, you're going to feather these down another 6 or 8%. If you got 0% occupancy at these new price points, you're going to drop these another 15% will be your next push down. But remember, we're doing a $7 per at 12 is the thing that needs to be noted for this.
Okay.
Okay. You need to have a hit percentage at more than 28 days out because everything cascades from there. Anything in your case, you're more of a destination. Anything that's not booked inside of 20 days is failure, is loss mitigation. Holy fuck, I fucked up. Pardon my French.
Anything not booked inside of 20 days.
Yeah. You're building your
Okay.
pricing model to get bookings of 14 people to 16 people, 45 or 65 days, 75 days in advance. That's what
Okay.
Now, VRBO is going to give you a lot of these. VRBO is going to be one of your main players. So the pricing that I just told you to do, if you go to VRBO and consider these new price points, I just told you to make your nightly rate $210 and then $575, right?
Correct.
On Airbnb. You could up those by about 25% on VRBO because VRBO is going to deduct money from you.
Okay.
Okay. And now again, remember your cleaning fee. Your cleaning fee is $150. Oh no, your cleaning fee is $250, right?
Yes.
So
correct.
now you're gonna do $160 cleaning fee and a $90 management fee. That's still gonna be in there, but VRBO doesn't have a management fee section, so you're still gonna keep your $250 cleaning fee on VRBO. People booking farther out are gonna pay the bigger prices, so you don't actually have to worry so much about that percentage swing of seeing a $200 nightly rate and a $250 cleaning fee, because VRBO is really not going to feed you except for bookings 3 to 6 months out, usually.
Okay, so you said drop it by 8% if it's less than 30 days?
Yeah, so yeah, give this 30 days. And if you're not seeing results, if you're looking for results in your 45 to 90 day window, that's really what you're looking at. You're looking for results in your 45 day to 90 day window on this. And if you don't start seeing results by these new prices, drop them another 8%.
Okay.
Like over the next 3 or 4 weeks, if you're not seeing these results, drop it. And if you don't see results again in another 2 weeks at these new price point drops, drop it another 8%. And that's going to be a total of a 15% price drop. If you start getting gobbled up after making 2 price drops, which we're going to talk a bunch, so we do this every week, right? We would then raise it back up. But your problem is we're repricing you for more than 28 days in advance. We're actually repricing you for your 45-day mark, right? At the 45-day mark, the prices that I gave you need to come down again, because you're not going to get a booking of 16 people or 14 people inside of 45 days, most likely.
Okay. What's mostly happening is that I was going to pull up my Lodgify, if you don't mind me sharing my screen really quick, to show you kind of really what's happening at that property. 75% of the people that are actually booking at that property are travel workers, and they book last minute. Like they'll book on Sunday for a Monday through Thursday stay, or they'll book on Monday for a Monday to Thursday.
How many people are in the group?
Between 4 and 8. There's never really more than 8.
Okay. What you're going to do, and here's I guess I need to explain something too. That's only happening because you're not getting bookings far future.
Okay.
Okay. So good that you've identified this customer type, right? What we're going to try to do is going to be 2 phases. We need to dial in your 45-day out prices. Once your 45-day out prices are dialed in, we then will find a relative price for inside of 45 days that also performs, right? Then from there, these last minute bookings that you get from workers, if you can even house them because you might be so full, you would then find out what are these last minute workers going to pay. And you could probably increase your prices very last minute and do like a check mark shape on your pricing strategy, because people with that last minute need might choose your space at a slightly higher price than you're accepting now. So you're just dropping your prices and holding at a loss because your far future is performing so poorly. You can't afford to up your prices last minute to maybe not get booked. So
yeah,
we're gonna fix your far future. We're gonna fix your mid range. Then we're going to play with your last minute prices, and you might increase your hyper last minute, which is something that I advise anyway in urban areas to prevent against parties. You might raise your prices 25% from its bottom. You might bottom out 10 days in advance, but you might raise your prices 25 to 50% with hyper last minute.
Okay.
So yeah, knowing that you get hyper last minute travel workers might be able to give you the sense of security in this whole big thing. But by eliminating your per price cost to almost a minimal change, and we're only keeping it there because it's like a creature comfort of yours. We're just going to play that. We're seeing it through because it's how you like to play your listing. In my world, we don't use a per customer cost because like I just showed you with that math, it's really hard to say what price isn't working. Well, in your case, both prices weren't working, but you have a price for 12 guests, which was 300, and a price for 16, which was 460, but both were not working. And you trying to fix two pricing strategies at the same time is a little messy, right?
Yeah.
But once you do start getting bookings at certain prices in the future, you can then go, I wonder if I up my per guest rate to $15 if I still get the same booking performance with an extra $8 per customer. But what you might see, if you do that, you might see that you no longer get bookings for 16 people. Your max booking starts to be 14. Right. And you also get less occupancy. But we need to create a controlled environment where you can test those things one at a time.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your help. Oh, question. So I joined the Cracking Superhost. I'm not really sure when, but how long does it actually last for me to still be in the group? Because I haven't even joined anyone else's calls, literally just yours.
Well, mine go for either 3 months or a year, depending on whether or not you got the mentorship add-on.
No clue.
You probably got the year because nobody's bugging you. And then everyone else, you can have everybody else's coaching forever. Pretty sure. For now.
But how do I keep you?
Oh, that's a annual renewal or like a monthly renewal. I think it's like $240 a month.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Can you have your crew
Yeah,
send that to me?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do. How long have you been in the program?
Honestly, I don't really know. I'm not even gonna lie. I haven't even done any of the videos yet.
Jeez.
I know. And I've only
it's good that
talked
you're on
to
the
you
calls
like
at
4
least.
times.
Yeah, it's good that you're on the calls at least. I mean, we got a lot of pricing strategy stuff in there. And your situation is unique because you had a problem, right? If you did the pricing videos and built everything from scratch, you'd come to me and say, hey, I've got my pricing set up the way you typically do it. What's wrong? That'd be one thing. But what we've had to do is we had to like undo a pricing strategy based on personal style, and rebuild one that's kind of unique to you. So yeah, the fact that you didn't watch the videos explains why you have a $40 per person cost built into your thing. Happens, right? But that's what I'm here for. So I'm happy that you've got on the mentorship calls at least.
Awesome. Wonderful. Yeah, just have your team bill me for that, unless like doing a yearly rate is like a cheaper bundle or whatever.
It is cheaper. Absolutely.
Wonderful. So just have them send me that then.
Cool. I will have Alberto or Andrew reach out to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Sorry to keep you late.
No, it's totally cool. This has been a fun one. Yeah, we did go over on time, but I can't help but to talk. It's kind of in my nature, the ADHD thing. So how
is anyone else? How many people are still on the call? Anybody?
There's only a few other people who are still here this long. So
wow.
Some people can hang in there too.
Sidebar question.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that lady who broke your heart?
Oh, no, we don't need to talk about that. I don't know what happened to her.
Did she just disappear or something?
She stepped away.
Did she say why?
Hey, thanks for asking really hard questions. It's probably the part of the consulting that I'm not really good at. Yeah, we both have relationship styles that don't necessarily don't bode well together. Yeah. I mean, we both have had like plenty of trauma in our life. I have tons of childhood trauma that I didn't even unpack until after that relationship started.
Wow.
I built my whole life around protecting myself from the child wounds that I had. Like, oh yeah, become rich, become famous, let people sleep on the couch. So I have good companionship, but since they're not paying rent, I get to make all the rules. No one will ever challenge me. Like my whole life was built around never being challenged, being seen as a good person, because my mom made me feel like I was a bad person. And I also made my life where I wasn't afraid of losing anybody because I was always the most valuable person in any relationship, right? But I also never loved anybody until that. So, and that's where my lesson comes in. So I learned something about vulnerability, and now I get to do some healing, and maybe I'll be ready for the next one. So, thanks for asking.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just remember you making a post about how you had kind of been incognito for a while because, you know, you got your heart broke. So just wanted to check on you.
Yeah, I can be great at business and not at relationships. So
yeah, see, it's the same with me. Wonderful at business, but when you're wonderful at business, you're not so great at other areas because you work all the time.
Yeah, there's an imbalance there, and it takes time to patch that up. And I'm happy I took the time away that I did, because if I didn't, like, I mean, I took like 2 years off, right? And if I didn't take the 2 years off and soften up a bit, I'd probably still be this capitalist douchebag. So there, I mean, that's good that I'm not so gung-ho capitalism anymore. And but if I also didn't soften up a little bit, I might have never actually even given a real relationship a shot. And then I would not have been able to get to those lessons in my life. Yeah, I'd probably just been this workaholic. Look at me. I probably would have bought a Lambo by now, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm glad I didn't. So all the pain aside, I'm still grateful for the choices I made.
That's awesome. There's a book that you should read, and a book that anybody else that's on the call should read if they deal with childhood trauma or any trauma, really. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. Have you read it? Yeah, The Body Keeps the Score. I've got a copy of that on my bed right now. It's absolutely amazing. And it explains a lot of why people with trauma do what they do. Yeah. My therapist recommended that one to me. So ta-da. Yeah, it's incredible. All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Yeah. Well, I'll see you next week. And until then, you want to talk, we can talk in the Cracking Superhost Facebook group. So awesome. Thanks. All right. See you guys.